you must first change your perception of yourself. It comes down to beliefs. Because at the end of the day, no matter how many hours you put in, if you don't believe you can do it, you won't do it. You won't do it because when you get to that impossible moment, you'll quit. You'll, you'll come up with all sorts of beliefs. Achieve that. When you get to the occasion, I believe you can do it. Even if there's only one people in the world for any habit, any addiction, anything you want to change in your life, change your identity and change the meaning you give to that thing, and you'll be able to remove it and replace it with something that takes you to a much better place, somewhere you actually want to be. You've got to take a moment by yourself and ask some deep and honest questions. You might want to write these down. Ask them. Write your answers. Then after that, write down how you want to see yourself. So, what is your current identity? How do you view yourself? In regards to your health, how do you view yourself? Are you someone who is healthy? Are you someone who has discipline to eat foods that make you stronger every day? Are you someone who exercises every day? If no, why not? If yes, can you train better, harder, differently so you feel at your peak every day? In regards to your achievements in life, can you do more? If yes, why haven't you? What is holding you back? Do you enjoy what you do for a living? What can you change to enjoy it more? How would you describe yourself in 3 sentences? Write it down. If you were to explain your qualities and struggles in 3 or less sentences to a complete stranger, how would you describe yourself? Write down whatever comes to your mind. This is not about being perfect or looking good. This is private. This is honest, and if you're real and ready, it will lead to change. Now, write down how you want to see yourself. Picture 1 year from today. Imagine yourself 1 year from today after all the daily work you put in to transform your life. Look at yourself from a bird's eye view, looking with pride, because you are the exact person you want to be. You created this. You built this character. Now write down what qualities this person has. Write down in 2 to 3 short sentences who this person is. Is it someone who is completely, authentically themselves? Is it someone you see smiling all the time? Someone with great relationships? Someone who lights up everyone they come into contact with? Is it someone who has a crazy amount of physical energy? Someone who has unbreakable discipline, but that discipline comes easy? Is it someone that makes life look easy and fun? Someone who has created the wealth and happiness exactly as they pictured? Is it someone who learns and applies that learning to achieve results? Is it someone who keeps going and going and going? Who is that person? Now, write 1 sentence. Who are you now? I am. I am someone who lives with passion. Someone who is disciplined with ease. I am someone who only consumes that which makes me stronger. Food, learning, people. I am someone who lives every day to the fullest. and pushes myself every today so I am stronger every tomorrow. I am someone who knows exactly where they are going, so I only take actions that get me closer to that place in every area. Who are you? Who are you? I am someone who lives with passion, someone who is disciplined with ease. I am someone who only consumes that which makes me stronger. Food, learning, people. I am someone who lives every day to the fullest and pushes myself every today so I am stronger every tomorrow. I am someone who knows exactly where they are going, so I only take actions that get me closer to that place in every area. Who are you? Who are you?
Welcome. All right. Welcome you. I'm glad you are here. Oh, hold on. We're going to watch it again just in case you missed it the first time. But I'm glad you are here. And I'm glad you brought yourself. And I think one of the important things on this is a lot of times, we were looking for something for motivation, right? Does anybody want to be motivated? Yeah, we all want to be motivated. The good news is that you're already motivated because you're here. Right? It takes motivation to get in your car, to come over here, to reschedule your whole life to be able to come here tonight.
Yeah, I want to welcome you guys tonight. This is a seminar that I'm super excited because I think tonight we're going to actually teach you how to use the tools. A lot of times we get up here and we give you guys tools like hammers and screwdrivers and everything, but today we're going to really show you how to use them. Life-changing things. I'm going to tell some really interesting things I've learned about goal setting, where people make failures, where things fall apart. We're going to touch on some of those things and how the brain works and why that stuff happens tonight. So I'm really excited to have you guys out tonight.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is, like we talked about, we all know information. Like literally, all of us can leave here like right now because we already know at least one thing that we can do that would change or transform our health. Would you guys be in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's super easy. Everybody knows that we probably shouldn't eat sugar, right? Everybody knows we should exercise. Everybody knows we should probably have a good mindset. Everybody knows that we shouldn't be drinking arsenic, right? Like those are all common sense things. And so really what we realize is that everybody knows these things. And so we come here, we get motivated, we get excited, we learn a lot of new information, and then we set these new intentions. Does that make sense? I'm walking out of here, and I intend to be the person that I was created to be. I intend to change my I am. I'm going to tell you what happens. So I'm going to fast forward this video, and come on, there we go. This is what happens. Anybody read the newspaper this morning? Can you get away from coronavirus at all? Right? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's right in your face. So we leave there, and all of a sudden, the world is there to create fear in our brains. Right? Our intentions change because our attention changes. Right? It's those things that are the crises in our life that change our attention. And so instead of saying, I'm going to be focused on being healthy, all of a sudden we come into a place of fear. And so this is on page 1 today. Okay, this is page 1. What I want you to look at, this is on page 4. So what page 4 says, and we're going to go over this together, 40% of adults in the United States are obese. What does that mean? So if you're a 5'4" woman, 173 pounds, that's considered obese. So just know that 40% of the people in the United States of America are obese. Guess what the number 1 contributor to death in the United States is? Obesity. So what is more lethal, coronavirus? Which is a pandemic, coronavirus or obesity? Which should we be more scared of, is obesity or coronavirus? Does that make sense? Like and that is what I want you to focus on. What they said is that the survey found that obesity rate was 42% higher than they found in the 2015 study. And guess what? If you've seen a couple makeovers ago, we showed that when I first started doing makeovers in 2010, it was, I think it was 24%, like it was the national average there of obesity. And in the last 10 or 15 years now, it's almost doubled. And then you think it's going to get smaller? No. And so what we're going to do is I want you to understand, as they said, it's increasingly difficult for doctors to care for people. Because most of the problems that we have today aren't healthcare problems, they're life problems. We don't have a healthcare crisis, we have a life care crisis. And if we're ever going to solve this crisis that we're in, we have to change our lifestyle to fix the healthcare crisis there. So let me tell you who we are. So Dr. Sherry and I have been together longer than most people have been married. Okay, we actually love each other that much. I actually spend more time with them than my wife. We live next to each other in chiropractic college. And we literally, I don't know if you saw us through the glass door, every time we get together, we laugh and we laugh and we laugh. But the one thing that we're committed to is being our very best for you each and every day. We show up every single day because we know lives hang in the balance. If somebody doesn't do something, who will? And that's us. Your team that brought you here. This is your event, but they did all the work, okay? And so anytime you get an opportunity, I ask that you just thank them. You have no idea how dedicated. Like, we have team meetings every single day before huddle. People cry in the team meetings because their heart hurts for the people that come in here. And they just want you to be happy and healthy and whole and complete. And so anytime you get a chance to give them a hug, it'll give them a little oxytocin, which will make them have that love and connection hormone. But the more important thing is just know that they love you. So between the two of us, we've been in practice for 60 years. Between the two of us, we've adjusted over 1 million people. What that means is there is not one thing that you can tell us that we haven't heard before, okay? You cannot give us an excuse that we haven't heard, okay? But we also know there's a solution to every single thing there. And so what we ask is that trust. We've seen it, we've done it. Just trust us in the process because we know the process works. We've seen it happen 100 times. And it's interesting, a lot of the things that we're talking about tonight, people have told us that, well, I've tried it, it doesn't work. And I said, well, it works every single time, so obviously you're not working it. And then maybe 2 or 3 times later, they go back and all of a sudden it works. And they're like, wow, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm like, no, you're not, because you're doing something different. You're actually doing the whole process there. So it's not a pick or choose. That's why we have the 5 essentials. It's about completion. We've had about 40,000 lives come through this office. That's a small town in the Midwest. It's not big enough for us because we're not making enough of an impact, and that's why we show up every single day. That's why we do this, because we want you today to be able to learn the information so that you can go out and teach somebody else, because we can't do it by ourselves. And that's why this is a movement. This is a movement to change the way that people perceive and receive their healthcare. Last thing, like I said, over 1 million patient interactions. And that's not enough either. That means that we need to be able to impact people in the way that the best way that we possibly can. I did do something. As a team, what we did is we decided to change our mission statement. And I'm going to tell you what our mission statement now says. Our #1 job is to transform lives. Okay? It's not to change it, it's to transform lives. Anybody can change a life, but it's to transform, it's to take one form and make it into a completely different form. That's our vision. Next thing is to restore families, because we know that families are falling apart. When families are sick, people fall apart. Have you ever noticed that when people get sick, families like fight? Have you guys ever run into that? That somebody like a spouse gets sick, or everybody, like, sickness causes people to fall apart. Then we want to create outrageous health, not just no symptoms, not just feeling better, but our vision is to be able to create outrageous health, and that's what you were born for. You were born healthy. That's what your design is. Next thing is we want to create a healthcare revolution. Somebody has to do it. It started with one person, right? Like, it has to start with one person, and we want to create a revolution in healthcare because, as the head of Mayo Clinic said, healthcare system doesn't exist. He said it's like having a car in your garage and going out to your garage to repair your car, but you don't even have a car in your garage. You can't repair it. Same thing with our healthcare system. He said we don't even have a healthcare system to fix. It's just a sick care system there. So we're going to do this one person at a time, one family at a time, one community at a time, because we're on a mission to help you really discover the life that you were created to have. And that's our mission here. That's what gets us up every morning, and I appreciate you guys for being here. If that mission resonates with you, you're in the right place. If it doesn't resonate with you, then you're in the wrong place. Okay? So next thing, we did something very different. We want to thank Alyssa for this because this is her genius. All you have to do is take out that thing that creates TextNet. This is your one chance to be able to use it. And all you have to do is text our office, 985-1111, and you will get the PowerPoint sent right to your phone. You'll get all the resources sent right to your phone. We set up a landing page so you can download everything. There's actually going to be a link on there, which will have a recording of this video tonight. So if you want to go back and look at something, all the resources that you need are going to be there. And as new resources come up, we'll still just keep adding them up there. So it's 985-1111, and just text the word STEP, as in step forward. Quit stepping backwards, just step. Okay. Dr. Sherry, you got anything you want to say?
Ready. Because I'm ready to go. All right, we're going to jump right into this, but I got to share a funny story with you guys. So you guys get an idea that Dr. Osborne has a lot of energy, right? Yeah. And if you ever been like next to something that has that much energy, it's like really radiating heat, and there's a lot of motion going on. And the laughter that he was talking about is, he actually came to me right there when that video was on. He actually stepped next to me there and said, we're going to do something different than we've been practicing. He changes things so quickly. I was right there, and he was telling me, okay, we're going to rearrange this. He was changing things in real time.
Already.
Yeah,
the word is not step, it's smart. It's smart. Just wanted to make sure you guys knew, so if you don't get anything from step, try smart.
So now you know why there's a lot of laughter, because I'm always like, are you kidding me? We're doing what now? I'm going on in 2 seconds here. All right, so we're going to go through some cool things today about setting goals. I'm curious, how many people have either gone to a seminar or read a book or something about setting goals and action steps and all that? How many people have participated in something like that before? Good. I'm going to go through some of that today. I'm going to show you where I think the pitfalls are and where people don't succeed. Because everybody out here has set a goal, right? And has failed, right? We've all done it. In fact, if you want to see it every single year, on the first week of January, where should you go to see everyone who set their goals? At the gym. And if you want to see all the people that have failed, or how many of them have failed, you go to the gym when? About 2 weeks later, right? Because every club knows, they're packed, every person who works out a lot knows, oh God, January, here they come. But the good news is by February, where are they? They're all gone, right? So we obviously have a problem with fulfilling this. So there's all these failed resolutions. And what I'm going to show you today, so I've spent I was an athlete in college, most of you know that. I swam and played water polo at Fresno State. I've coached as high as just below Olympic level, like athletes that were moving at that level, all the way to D1 athletes. And I'm going to tell you there's a really strong pattern for people who are successful and people who are not. There's an interesting book based on this, and how many people have seen the book Think and Grow Rich? That book was premised on that back in the early 1900s. They went out and said, what do the successful people do? Like, is there anything in common? And that whole book lays out what the successful people in life had in common. And what they had in common were things like they set goals. They did action steps. They wrote their goals down. There was very consistent things. So we have a lot of failed resolutions that we got to deal with. The problem here, and I'm going to talk about this in this first session and the next one, is you have to understand how the brain works. Because there's an internal brain battle that takes place all the time. And when you continue to lose, your brain begins to accept that it's a loser. When I was in chiropractic college, I came into this area for the first time, and I wanted to get a job, and so I went to Saratoga High School and became their head water polo coach. The year before I had coached, they had lost every game except for one. Every game except for one. And that head coach actually had cancer and passed away a month after that season ended. They didn't tell me that until I took the job. So I went to that first meeting, and imagine the team I had. So first of all, that coach had been really sick, and he hadn't been around for a while, so the kids were wild, crazy, and none of them cared about winning. None of them cared about winning. You know why none of them cared about winning? Because they hadn't won anything in like 2 years. I knew I had to change the whole program to start winning. Okay, so tonight, one of the things, how do you get out loser in your, all of you just recognized when I said that goals, we all set goals, we've all failed. So what's going to be different about tonight? The same thing. We're all going to set goals and feel good and go home and fail. So tips on what you can do, things like learn on that system. Okay? Okay, problem. Here's some of the problems briefly. We aim too high. Right? You sit down and go, what do I want to do this year? You know what I'm going to do this year? I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Okay, that's a good goal, but that might be a little high. When you eat the cake, you're going to eat it in one bite. It's sad, but that's not. We lose motivation because we don't know how our brains work. Every time I learn about goal setting and things, I'm just completely dumbfounded that this information isn't taught. How is it possible the most successful people on this planet use the same damn system over and over and over. They don't start with any school. How is that possible? How is that possible? Things work, and we know how successful people get there, but we don't share it with the younger youth in this country. It's wildly crazy. Social pressures get involved. All talk about that, right? I used to think a workout partner until I realized my workout partner and I were tied together, and now all of a sudden me getting to work out had a lot to do with whether he decided to work out. I would call him, hey, I can't, I gotta study. Oh, well, I guess I'll miss today too, right? All of a sudden, if you're married, you get it. You're together. We're going to walk every decide to have dinner. He decides to stay at dinner too, right? So some pressure is our downfall too. It's very easy to get into that, okay? And ultimately, we want immediate results. Now, let me tell you where this to me, I think that's happened to us as a culture. We move because what they show are all just like the one you saw, right? I had a one. Everyone saw Rock. He went from getting his butt kicked to champion 30 minutes. Did he that walk Rock? Yeah, we all saw him. Push-ups for about 5 seconds. Pull-ups, I saw him running next. All of that 30 minutes. Now, I look at that and I'm like, I get motivated. Also know that that's a lot of work. A lot of work. I'm gonna tell you a story. I had a patient in my office one time, and I was doing his new patient exam, and he told me that he was an ultra marathoner. I thought, wow, ultra marathon, by the way, are people who run at least 50 miles or more on a run. That's a big run. There's a lot there. I can't even comprehend running that far. Okay? As a Division I swimmer, I used to swim over 10,000 yards a day. I can't even imagine running that far, right? They run nonstop. So I asked him as I'm filling this out, are you guys ready for this? I said, so how many of those have you done? Because I'm really impressed. Because I know there's a lot of work there. He goes, oh, I haven't done any of them yet. I said, oh, okay. How many marathons have you run? And he said, oh, I haven't done any marathons either. Wow. I said, so just 10Ks? He goes, no, just 10K. Okay. That's an unrealistic goal, right? He wants immediate results, but he doesn't even understand the battle he has to get there, right? So imagine his brain, which is highly motivated to be this amazing runner. Somebody has gotten him fired up, but he has no concept what it is to be in the middle of a run. Dr. Osborne and I, year after year, used to run in a relay from Calistoga to Santa Cruz, okay? Calistoga to Santa Cruz. You heard that. It's 200 miles away. And we would run, everyone runs 3 times, and you end up running about 7 miles every time you run. You run 3 times during that 30 some odd hours to get over, right? I remember running along down by, Silver, what is the off of 280, there's the golf course down there. One of my runs, I took the wrist thingy bobber, and I took off running down by that golf course, down towards that lake at 2:30 in the morning by myself, really cold. There is nobody around, and I'm running, and the band doesn't even show up for like 30 minutes, and I'm running a picture, and I'm thinking, am I crazy? Why? What in the heck is going on? But unless you've experienced that, you don't realize how hard that is just to mentally stay focused, right? So tonight we're going to be talking about that. So on your forms, get out your paper for me. We're not going to spend a lot of time because we have so much information to give, and I got to get you guys some tools how to work. But we can look at this. Who will you be is always the question, right? What is your identity? When you get home, take a moment. And I'm going to give you some of the secrets on this. If you take this home, if you're like most people, and you sit down and get out your pen and you're motivated to do it, and you say, well, let me think about this. Who's my identity? And you start processing it, and you think you're going to write down long paragraphs, I would recommend not doing that. I want short little answers. What's my identity, right? I'm a good person, I work hard. Boom, next step, right? It's got to be quick and simple and short. Fill this out. Who will you be, right? What kind of person do you want to be? So fill this out when you get home tonight, not right now. And who do you want to be? Where do you want to be in life? Most of us go through this life conforming dreaming. We want to be healthy. Right? Everyone. What called SMART. This is where you want to start taking notes. The first key for this is these goals have to be simple. They have to be simple. That water polo team hadn't won in a year and a half, maybe 2 years. We started playing games here in this valley. By the way, this is a really good high school water polo area. And we got our butt kicked 2-3 weeks in a row, like really bad. And I asked one of the coaches that I became friends, the Los Gatos coach, Matt Anderson. I called him. I said, Matt, where is water polo not very good? He said, they're not very good over on Santa Cruz. And I go, well, they're not good in Sacramento because I grew up there. Guess where I drove that team almost every weekend? We went to Sacramento twice, and we went to Santa Cruz a ton. And guess what we started to do? Win. It was simple. It was easy. All I had to do was get them to places where schools we could play that we could win, right? I needed those kids to start winning. So your brain is very much like a baby. It's like if you can make simple goals and achieve them, your brain actually starts thinking, oh, what those kids start thinking, oh, we're winners. By the way, that freshman team lost in the semifinals to the CCS champion by 1 goal. So close. Okay, that team worked their butt off as freshmen. They learned how to win, and by their senior year, 4 of them went on to play Division I water polo because they learned how to win, because they knew what it took to be a winning team. So you got to keep it simple. You got to win. You got to make these goals super simple. Listen, if you're not exercising now and you decide, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to run an ultra marathon. No. Your goal should be what? How about this? I'm going to start walking every night for 5 minutes. Is that easy? That's super easy. You have to realize your brain, and I'm going to show you some stuff earlier, your brain has like this split personality, and it's going to constantly evaluate your goals and decide really rapidly, oh, see, you're a loser, right? If I take those kids around that year and we lost every game in CCS here, right, the area, I would not have had a team that thought they could win. Right? So you got to make them simple and realize your brain's a toddler. It can be trained. Simple goals, okay? Simple goals. And when I say yet complex, meaning you can build the goal to something bigger, but you have to start at the bottom and build up, okay? If you've ever raised a child in your entire life or seen a child, you know how that's going to become tricky, right? Okay, the next step is measurable. Your goal needs to be measurable. How about this? I'm going to lose weight this year, okay? Now, when I plant that in my brain goes, oh, that's a great idea. At least part of my brain, right? My brain, the good part of my brain's like, oh my gosh, that's super good, right? That good angel. That's a great idea, Steve. You should lose weight. The bad part of the brain goes, that's not very specific, right? I can easily get us out of that. I need it to be measured. Our brain loves patterns. That's why we like music. Our brain likes patterns. It likes numbers. It wants it to be measurable. I'm going to lose 5 pounds this year. My brain's like, I like that. I like that. I can measure it. They've got to be simple goals. They have to be measured. Okay? Patterns, by the way, indicate intelligence, which is why our brains love that stuff. Yeah?
Is it possible to move this banner?
Yes, it is possible to move that banner. See how specific I answered that question? Really? You want me to move that? I did. And we want to confirm our perception, okay? So if the good brain is saying, we're going to lose 5 pounds, for instance, right? I want it measurable, and the brain wants to be able to flip over to the bad brain and say, I told you so, okay? It's got to be a measurable goal. So simple and measurable.
What patterns indicate intelligence?
Patterns indicate intelligence. Whenever they look, I just saw a thing from NASA, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw this 2 weeks ago. NASA picked up another signal coming in. And it's crazy. It's a repeated radio signal that's coming from some star a bazillion light years away, and they can pick it up every 16 days. And it goes for a while, and then it disappears, and it comes back every 16 days. So What NASA's looking for is what? Repeated thing, because that's a sign of intelligence. They don't think it's a life form. They think it has something to do with a planet rotation or something. But that's what NASA's looking for. So when your brain likes those patterns, okay, our brains crave musical patterns, the 8 beats and all that stuff. So it likes to measure things. We're very numerical. We want that measurement, okay? Okay, the goal has to be attainable, like I said here, okay? Your brain's not going to do it. If you set that gigantic goal, your brain's going to instantly sabotage you, okay? All right. I watched a show. You guys ever seen that show, I Shouldn't Be Alive or something like that? All right. There were 2 guys out fishing in Mexico. They're both crashes. They're on this isolated island, but they know that the good island they want to be on is 20 miles across the way in the water. And at one point, they're getting desperate, and one of the guys says, let's swim it. And the other guy was like, no. That's a good goal. Would you not agree that was a good goal? It was a good goal. But it's not attainable. They had already been out without water and food for like a week. It was not a good goal. It wasn't an attainable goal. And the bad brain was clearly to go, yeah, I don't think so. What I want you to realize is when we start talking about the good and the bad brain here a little bit, remember it's all based on survival for the most part. The stuff you're wrestling with are survival mechanisms that our brains have had for a long time. Okay? And because of that, there's the law of energy conservation in the human being. What that means is the body doesn't want to do anything, absolutely anything that wastes energy. Think about that. It doesn't want to waste energy because that could kill us. So it's all about what can I do to conserve energy? How do I maintain energy so I don't die? So if the goal is, you know what I'm going to do is every day I'm going to climb up to the top of this coconut tree and get coconuts and come up and down, your bad brain's like, do we really need to do that? Like, is that an energy use that I really need? Even if the good brain can justify it, okay, the bad brain's not going to like it. I'm going to climb Mount Everest. Great goal. Okay, it might be a little lofty since the only thing I've ever climbed is Mission Peak. Okay, so keep these goals attainable. I love that goal, by the way. Climbing Mount Everest would be a good goal. But that's probably not a good goal for me. I might think about a different mountain before I get up to doing Mount Everest. Okay? So smart, so specific, measurable, and attainable goals are really important. All right, the goal has to be relevant to you. So now we're going to talk about why this is relevant. Our brains, like I said, you can look at it this way. You can say it's the good or evil brain. You can call it the positive or negative brain, irrational and rational, risky or safe, death versus life brain, logic or emotional brain. What's interesting is it all depends on the situation, right? Has anybody ever heard emotional hijacked brains? You have ever heard this? They call it limbic hijacking too. So the brain has an emotional side and a logic side. If you've ever fallen in love, you have officially been emotionally brain hijacked. It's where your emotional brain takes over, and if you've fallen in love, and you'll do what? Really weird, crazy things for that person you fall in love with, because your emotional brain has taken over, and it's like, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. The logic brain is, I don't think moving to Reno for someone you met last week makes a lot of sense. Your emotional brain is like, it makes great sense to me, right? So when you start thinking of setting goals and working with the brain, if you don't realize that these are inside your brain, constantly thinking about what you're doing, you realize that because you're going to have to deal with it. This is why most of us fail, because we don't know how to play with our brain and trick the brain. Let me give you an example of how you trick the brain. I swim. On Fridays, we get out of here at 12:30. I live up in the Pleasanton area. I swim up there. And on Friday, there's no swim workout that I can go to with a bunch of good people that are working out. So it's up to me to drive to Pleasanton and swim by myself at the club. I have to drive an hour and 15 minutes in Friday traffic, right, after working up to Pleasanton. And I've learned something about myself. The house is actually on the way to the club. So on Fridays, you guys ready? Listen how this works. I've learned if I drive to the house, the likelihood of me going to the club is what? Zero. Wait, I know you guys are laughing, but listen, I'm not stupid. I've done this study a bunch of times. I've driven, I'm like, I know if I go to the house, I won't swim. But then like, nope, I'm going to prove myself that I will. I'm going to the house. I'm going to go in. I'm going to change, and I'm going to go to the pool. And an hour and a half later, I'm sitting on the couch watching the news. I'm like, oh, now it's too late to swim, right? All right, so you're right. You guys I figured it out. Okay, I learned a really valuable lesson I want to share with you that I got from a really good friend of mine named Doug. And I hope he gets to see this online. Doug is a little older than I am, and we used to swim together all the time in Los Gatos. And it was a Friday afternoon. It was when I was swimming in Los Gatos, and we met there at noon to swim. There was other people who would swim, but this day it was just Doug. And Doug is a really good swimmer, but he's just a smidge slower than me. And so when we swim together, you have that person you work out with, they're just a little bit better than you, and they just a little bit more in the pool, right? There's other people that do that to me. I'm like, oh God, Rick's here. Oh, that means he's going to push me. So I do that to Doug. He's a great swimmer, but I make him work a little harder. So we got in that pool that day. It was a really nice day. I was so glad he was there so I didn't have to swim alone. And we set out the workout. We got it all ready. I go, we're going to just warm up, and then we're going to do 10 100s. We're going to do them really hard. We'll work the 3 laps, and we'll rest this. We had it all laid out. He's with me. It's great. I do the first 100 really hard. I touch the wall. He's right behind me. I'm like, come on, Doug, we're going to do this. We're working together. And I go, and as I'm coming back on the second lap, there's no Doug. Where'd Doug go? Well, I pop my head up, and I see him running into the locker room. Oh, good. He just has to go to the bathroom. Totally makes sense, right? I touch. There we go. I go on the next one. I'm sprinting. I touch the wall. I'm like, he's still not around. Where is he? I push on the second one. When I touched after the third or fourth one, I looked up, and there's Doug, fully dressed, walking out of the club. Now, if you have a workout partner who gets it all set up, and then they ditch you in the middle, I'm like, you dirty rat. You are never going to hear the end of this, right? Like, you left me here to do it. So I was frustrated, and I finished the workout. Guess who I called as soon as I got out of the club? I go, Doug, are you kidding me? Dude, you left me out and dry. Okay, so here's the lesson I got from Doug. Here's what he said. He goes, I'm sorry. And I said, yeah, you are. And he said, no. He goes, I know something about myself. You guys ready for this? He goes, when I was warming up, I wasn't feeling it. When we did the first 100, I knew I wasn't feeling it. I was feeling gross. I didn't like that feeling. It was bad. He goes, I knew, because I know myself, because he works out a ton. He goes, I could have stayed in that pool. I could have stayed in that pool. I could have swam that set with you. I would have been so tired physically and mentally. He goes, I probably wouldn't have swam again for at least a week and a half to 2 weeks. He goes, I know that's how my brain is. He goes, I've learned over the years to pick my battles. He goes, so I thought, you know what? 1,500 yards today. It's not a bad day. I'll get out. I'll come back tomorrow on Saturday morning for the big workout, and I'll be fine. So Saturday morning, he was back there working out. There's somebody who has worked out a lot. I want to share that story with you. He has learned how to work with his brain. Now, back to my story. I'm driving to Pleasanton, right? I don't want to swim. It's one of those days. I do not want to swim, even though I have a goal. I swim across Lake Tahoe in a race every year, and the race is coming up every summer. And I'm driving up, I'm like, oh, I really need to go work out. My goal is to work out on Fridays, get at least 4,000 yards in, even though I'm by myself. I'm driving up there, and I'm thinking, I can't go home, right? I have to go. You guys ready for this? So I tell my brain, here's the deal I make with my brain. I'm going to go. I'm going to sit in the hot tub, and I'm going to swim about 1,500 yards, and I'll get out. Now, what do you guys actually think happens when I got in the pool and started swimming? How far did I really go? I went more, right? I went more. So I left thinking, oh, that's so great. I fooled my brain. I win, right? I tricked my brain. I was so proud of myself. I'm like, boom. Now there's a tool that I should have in my bag all the time. I can fool my brain. Who was I actually fooling? Myself. Because the next week, I had the same thing. I'm driving up there, and I thought, I don't want to swim. So I thought, oh, me being super smart, what did I say? I'm just going to go to the club and sit in the hot tub and do 1,500 yards. I was super smart. I thought, I figured this whole thing out, and an hour later, I was sitting on the couch at home watching the news.
What happened?
You know what happened? Is my brain's way smarter than me. And my brain was like, oh, really? You fooled, the first time what? Shame on, next time shame on me. My brain was like, no. I know the deal. I know how this works. you lied to me last time, and you went ahead and made me work. So now my brain's like, I'm not going to play the game. What I'm teaching you here is it's okay to go and do less. I have gone now on that same premise in my brain where I don't want to do the workout. I go to the gym. I get in the hot tub. I've gotten in the pool. I started swimming, and I'm like, I feel good. I should go further, but I've learned the lesson to go what? I made a deal with my brain. I told my brain we were going to go, do the minimum, and then go home, and I'm going to feel good about it. And that's kind of what Doug taught me. It's okay, because it's consistency that's going to win the day, not one workout. So on these goals, it's okay, but you have to understand how your brain works. Your brain is constantly checking in on you, like, are you trying to trick me or not trick me, right? These two brains are working together constantly to figure out if you're honest and truthful and if there's a reason to it, okay? So be careful also. Everyone gets hijacked with those big goals, right? I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year. It's going to be great. That's your emotional brain hijacking, and your logic brain is going to be like, I don't think so. Right? I don't think so. Anybody ever seen the movie Inside Out, by the way?
Yeah.
If you haven't, you should see it. It's a great movie. It's a Disney movie about how the inside of the brain works, and it'll give you a good idea about how the dual brain works, what part of that brain you listen to. Okay? Okay, the other thing is timely. The goals need to be timely, short-term versus... If you aren't being successful in your health goals, if you do not have a winning record like that water polo team, if you have lost every goal you've ever set in your entire life, you're just not good at goals, you love the procedure, but you've never won, what makes you think you're an Olympic setting goal person? Why? I see this mistake all the time. All those people that go to the gym, they set all their goals, they never get them. Every year they set gigantic goals, they never get it. Why would those people feel qualified to make big goals? Just because you've struck out every single time you've ever gone to the plate in baseball, why do you think you get to go to the major leagues and play? You've never even hit the ball at the minor leagues. Why would you get to go to the major leagues? Why would you, who've never accomplished any goals, ever be given the power in your brain to do a long-term goal? I'm just telling you what your brain thinks, by the way, even though you may not hear it. Your brain's like, you know you're really bad at this, right? Like, you know you always are a big talker. You always make big goals, and we always fail. But here we are again. You're saying you're going to climb Mount Everest. You're not going to go. And then you don't go, and then what? Now you realize your brain goes, see, I told you, and you always lose. So you can't. I want short goals. I want short goals. I want you going, I'm going to walk every day for the next 5 days. And those walks are going to be 5 minutes long. Okay, 5 minutes long at best. Accomplishing that goal, what's it teach your brain? Oh, listen, that part of your brain's going to be like, I'll be damned. You actually just did that goal. Like, you actually, for the first time in your life, set a goal and actually accomplished it. Wow. By the way, it releases endorphins in your brain when you do that, even if it's a short goal. Because your brain's like, whoa, right? The bad brain's going to be like, what the hell just happened? We said, yeah.
I heard setting daily resolutions is more effective than setting annual resolutions.
Yep, that's it. You guys hear that? Small little short daily goals are more powerful sometimes than that big goal. I mean, they can be stair steps, right? But you have to realize it's not just the goal setting, it's the winning the games. Okay? It was the winning of the games of that water polo team that they started. Here's what I witnessed about those kids. We beat up on some teams that weren't very good. And next thing I know, we were competing against teams that I'm like, we have no right to be in the same pool with this team. But here we are, down by 1 goal in the fourth quarter. How in the hell is this happening, right? In those days, I said, must have been coaching, by the way. But it was because those kids were learning to win, right? They believed they could win because they had been winning, okay? Okay, get out your form on the back of this. We've given you a form here. And now we're not going to go through it in depth, and we're going to be running a little tight on time. But there's a form here, knowing the SMART goal model, right? I want you to start thinking that. I want a small goal. So if nothing else, tonight you go through this whole thing. If your goal is this simple, I'm going to walk every day for the next 5 days, and it's going to be at least a 5-minute walk. I love that. I love that goal. One more thing. If I gave you a cupcake and I said, here's your goal. You have to eat a cupcake if you like cupcakes. You have to eat a cupcake every day for the next 2 months. Is that a hard goal to accomplish?
No.
Every time you eat the cupcake, though, there'll be a massage therapist who will show up and give you a full body massage for 2 hours for free. Now, is that a habit that you could all do?
Yes.
But because it feels good, right? Your pleasure centers go up. That's a good thing. Okay, here's the next one. Have you eat a cupcake every day for the next 2 months? We all agree that's easy, right? However, every time you have a cupcake, I'm going to send the guy over with a 2x4, and he's going to crack you in the head. He's just going to give you a little right on the side of the melon. Anybody want to keep eating cupcakes every day? No. Why? Because every time you eat the cupcake, it hurts. And your body's quickly going to go, it turns out I don't like cupcakes, right? So if your goal hurts, this is the problem with most of your exercise goals. You guys go out with these big exercise goals. You go out and you exercise really hard day one, right? The next day you wake up, you're like, oh, wow, I don't think I can move. Your brain's like, we are not doing that again. I am not doing that again. You might, if you're really, really motivated, if you watched a lot of those motivational videos and you said, I'm going to watch Rocky tonight, right? And you limp onto the couch and watch Rocky, you might get up and go to the next day for a run, but I guarantee it won't last. It will not last. Another mistake that people make on exercise goals. I'm getting up tomorrow at 4 a.m. I'm going to start my workout. No. All the crazy people you see at 4:30 or 5 in the morning are completely addicted to their habits already. They did not start getting up at 4 in the morning. Don't do that. That's stupid. Because your brain's going to wake up the next morning and go, yeah, no, not doing this. And now you're losing again. I want you to do your exercise goal in the evening. It's short, it's simple, it's concise. It's so easy that when you get out of the car, you're like, this is easy. This is like a cupcake and a massage. Like, I just walk up to the Johnson's house and I walk back and I'm done. And your brain's like, oh my God, we're winning. We're winning. Listen, if you do that, I guarantee you, one more thing. There is not a better time in the calendar year than this to do habits. Okay? Because in California, the sun is staying up longer and the weather's getting warmer and warmer. You start your habits now, you can create a habit all the way through summer. In October, it's the worst time to start a habit. It's getting cold, it's starting to rain, there's no light, it's really hard. So right now, I cannot tell you a better time, March and April, to start these little simple habits. So come summertime, you're like, oh my gosh, I walk for like 20 minutes every day. I just get out of the car, I'm gonna get home and I walk my 20 and it's great. And your brain's feeding on itself as it's doing that, okay? You can use this format right here to create those goals. But I want you desperately to make them simple, and you are not here to accomplish any of those goals, especially the exercise ones, for the first 30 to 60 days. You got that? I want to lose weight. Fine. You have to create the habit first. Every successful person will tell you, create the habit and win. Create the habit of winning, then we can win against better teams. Create the habit over the next 30 days of exercising every day. I don't care if it's a 5 or 10-minute walk. Create the habit. I like this. This is good. I like that. I like cupcakes and full body massage. Let's do this more often. Great. We'll do it. Become addicted to the endorphin in the brain because you're winning. Now, after 2 months, naturally qualified, you graduated to actually bump your walk up to a 15 to 20-minute walk. You might even graduate eventually to say, you know, I'm so addicted to it that I missed my walk last night, and I was really disappointed in that. I think I'll get up early. Now, when you get to that point, you are officially addicted to it. You're officially addicted to it. All of a sudden, you wake up because you're like, oh, I don't want to miss my walk. I know tonight I won't be home until late, so I'll wake up this morning at 5 and do my quick walk. Okay? And those are the questions you guys ask. Why is this person up at 4 or 5? Because they're addicted to it, because they created that habit and it developed it. Okay? So make sure you fill these out. Okay? I would love to hear from you guys what your goals are. Before I hand this back over to Dr. Osborne, I am handing it back over to you right now. It changes, I'm telling you. I want you to write down and let me know how your goals are. Like, what are you doing? Are you accomplishing them? I want short, small goals. But I kind of give you the feedback on how you're doing, okay? 2 things that you can do with goals. There's 2 systems. You can write your goal down. You can announce it to the entire world what you're. It's called the peer pressure method, right? So I've had swim coaches do that where they had us all sit down and write our goal times for our events, and then they would put them on a big board for everyone to see. And that is really stressful. It's a technique that does work, but it's really stressful because you're like, oh God, everybody's looking at what I'm trying to do. That's one technique. The other technique is you write the goal, you keep it internal, and it's your battle, it's your monster, you deal with it, nobody has to know. Whatever works for you, it doesn't matter, but those are the two different systems, okay? All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Dr. Osborne. I wanna hear your goals though, as you guys are coming in. Let me know, I want small, specific goals.
So my name's TJ, and I'm an addict, just so you know. He was actually picking on me because I was up at 4:30 this morning, going to the gym. That's what I did this morning. Now, I will tell you this, though. When I first set my first goal, when I was 285 pounds, and my only goal was to put my exercise clothes on and walk out to the front sidewalk, okay? That was it. That was my goal. And I had to create that habit. And there's times when I walked out to the front sidewalk, walked back into the house, but I hit my goal. Eventually, it was to be walking around the block. Eventually, it was 2 blocks. Next thing, it was 3 blocks. Next thing you know, Dr. Sharon and I are running from Calistoga to Santa Cruz, okay? So don't try to go like where you think you should be. Go from to the next step. Take it as a step there, okay? So this is one of I think one of the things that as we start to see the importance of our goal, we start to see the things that have been holding us back, we just have to have a plan, because a goal without a plan doesn't mean anything. So what I want to do is we always talk about the 5 essentials, right? And so I'm going to show you how the 5 essentials work. Ready? So what if we get one adjustment today? Okay. What if we go out and we eat 1 piece of kale today? Right? So this person, what if we actually have 1 positive thought today? And what if we actually practice our breathing? Or maybe we walk around the block 1 extra time today? And what if we decided that, hey, maybe I'm not going to smoke that cigarette. Maybe I'm going to put put that 1 cookie down today. Now, compare that person to somebody that didn't get adjusted today, right? That person that instead of a piece of kale, they ate 1 piece of pizza. They actually decided they wanted to talk about the people at work that were driving crazy with their wife or their husband for just 1 minute. And then they decided to have air fresheners around the house that are toxic, and they decided to breathe that in just for 1 minute. And they decided to, I don't know, instead of putting sugar in their coffee, they decided to put aspartame or sucralose in there or Splenda. Okay. Now take those 2 people. Which one is healthier, person A or person B? It's simple, right? Do they know that they're healthier though? No. Do they feel it? No. But now take that person and multiply it by 30, about 3 years or 30 years. Think of the divide of where those people are going to be, even if they just did 1 small thing on a daily basis. And that's the beauty of this 5 essentials, because when we're putting this plan together, if you can just do 1 simple thing from there, eventually it'll build and it'll build and it'll build, and you'll start to have a momentum there. That's the key, okay? So watch this. Now we're going to get a little deep. Do you guys know what this is? Theoretically, it's the Big Bang Theory. Nobody was there to watch it, so that's what they say that it looks like. So we're going to go really deep here, because I need you to understand something that's really important. So when the Big Bang Theory theoretically happened, we have there's many forces. There's 4 forces that were released. Number 1 was the electromagnetic force. We also had big forces, small forces, and then we had gravity. So those 4 forces. Now I say that there's actually 5 forces. There's a force called life force. Okay, life force was created at the time that the universe began. Now, all those things, all those other forces, they work according to laws, right? You can't violate the laws. They work the same way every single time, because they're a force there. Well, what happens is that when life force didn't do anything until the environment was perfect. When the environment became just right, then life force was able to express itself. And a lot of times people think, well, we had all these things randomly come together at a certain time, and all of a sudden life magically appeared. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of these chemicals are on Mars. We don't see life on Mars, right? A lot of these chemicals that, the oxygen and the nitrogen and all that stuff is on Pluto. We don't see that. We don't see life on Pluto there. When the right environment, that perfect environment was expressed, it came together, that life force was able to express itself. And what it did is it created a single cell. And that cell had all of a sudden became intelligent. So on the inside of the cell is what we call an innate intelligence. It's an intelligence that's innate to that cell. And you have to understand, if you can understand how 1 cell works, you can understand how all the cells work. So that intelligent cell, that intelligence job is to be there to help that cell survive. That's the only job of the intelligence of the cell. It does that. It'll do anything that it can to survive. But what ends up happening is that if you look at us, we have many cells in our body. In fact, we have about 72 trillion cells in our body. So for that to happen, we can't have all the cells working to survive themselves. Does that make sense? They all have to give up their own individual drive to survive for the survival of the man. And what coordinates that is your nervous system. That coordination of all those cells thriving to survive and driving to survive is actually your nervous system there. Now, what I also want you to think about is, what is this? It's a blueprint, okay? So a blueprint, before this was a blueprint, means that it's a design of how things work. Now, to have a blueprint, you have to have, and a design, you actually have to have a designer. Something that actually created the design. And so when that design was just right, it's going to work. So if you violate how that design is supposed to work, it's not going to work. And your body was perfectly designed. There's very specific rules and laws that we're going to talk about of how your body was designed to work there. And that's when we talk about your brain. And what's important about your brain is that when we talk about our brain controls the function of every single tissue, cell, and organ in your body, how you experience the world, even to even know that you even exist in this world, you experience through your nervous system. So what they're talking about right now is something called biopsychology. And so what that means is this, is that Dr. Sherry and I were just talking about positive mental thoughts, right? Said our positive thoughts. Well, think about this. What if I'm saying, there are no weeds in my garden, 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 there are no weeds in my garden. And the whole time you're saying that, guess what? The weeds are growing in your garden, right? So what happens is that, yes, that's like saying that your body has no problems. We can say there's no problems in my body, there's no problems in my body. But here's the thing, if there's a disconnect between your brain and your body, the thing that coordinates your body's, that intelligence that's within your body that's designed to have your body work according to the design, we're going to have problems. That's just the way it is. And the problem also is that when there's stress on your nervous system, it's going to change the way that your brain thinks. It's going to change your brain from thinking about growing and growth and expansion. It's going to change your brain back into its most basic form about survival. When your body's under stress, your body thinks about one thing. It's about surviving. How do I get through this day? And so that's why when we start looking at the biopsychology, the thing that is important about that is that when your nervous system is stressed, it's going to change how you think. It's going to change how you think and how you respond to the world. And the problem with that is, like I said, your nervous system's is in charge of everything. But do you guys see what's wrong with this picture up here, by the way? Anybody, like, you know, you see a typo up there, Shelley? Was the first thing you saw? Yeah, I knew it would be, right? But the point, no, I knew it. So I should have you look at all my PowerPoints. But the point of it is, your brain's job is to find errors. Do you guys see it up here? Yeah. There's no effects, right? It's EF. Did anybody have a problem reading that? Yes. Or did you already pretty much know what it said? Like, so your brain identifies errors and fixes those errors without you ever knowing. It's that brilliant. So all these things that are interfering with that intelligence, your body will try to adapt to those every single day there. If the problem is eventually what happens is studies show that you have to have a reduction of the ability of that nerve to transmit information by 40% before you even have a symptom. It's that good. The design is that good. The design is that fail-safe that you can get away with years and years of damage. You can get away with less and less function until you get to a point of 40% function. And if you have pressure on the nerves that are going to your head, you're going to have headaches. If you have pressure on the nerves that go to your digestive system, by the time there's enough pressure on there, you're going to have food intolerances, and you're going to have acid reflux and fatigue. That's how your body works. It's that incredibly well designed. And so when you look at yourself in a place of awe and look at how amazing that you are, and so by the time we all of a sudden have a symptom, the insanity of our approach to healthcare says, I have a symptom, you know what we need to do? Let's just stuff it down. Let's suppress it. Let's pretend that it doesn't exist. Let's put a chemical in there that tries to control our chemistry, but that all it does is create an interference to that life force expressing itself. And it puts our body into a place of survival. Every chemical that we put into our body puts our body into a state of stress. And that state of stress changes how we think, how we react, how we respond to the world. And we're happy, but nobody goes on less medications and they only go on more. See, remember, medications are only there because we're sick, right? We have symptoms. Nobody said, oh my gosh, I think I'm just going to take pills for the heck of it. They take them just because it helps cover up a symptom. And I'm not making somebody right, and I'm making somebody wrong. But remember, when we talk about, it's the small things that we do on a daily basis that will have an impact there. So, number one, look, somebody actually took that picture of me, so I had to put it up, but it wasn't like an ego thing. But that's why chiropractic is at the center of everything that we do. I could give you the greatest food in the world, but if you have pressure on the nerves that go to your stomach, you're not going to digest it, right? I could give you I could have you read positive mental thoughts every single day. But if your nervous system's under stress, you're going to interpret those things as a threat there. If I could have you detox there, but if you have pressure on the nerves that's going to your liver, you're not going to be able to detox there. And in fact, your body won't even detox when you're under stress. It can't do it. It doesn't care about detoxing in the long term. It says, what can I do to survive in the moment? Now, the other thing that's really important about this, why chiropractic's at the center, because remember we talked about when a cell decides that it wants to be part of something bigger, it has to give up its own individual survival for the survival of the man. Remember I said that? Now think about this. What happens when people get healthy, right? And they want to come together as mankind? And we have to give up our own individual drive just to survive for the betterment of mankind. And that's really what we do here. So when I'm adjusting you, I know that every single time I adjust you, you're better, you come out of survival, and mankind's better for what we did today. And that's what that's what drives us every single day, because I'm not talking about it's not words about a healthcare revolution. It's about creating a health revolution, a life revolution, to be able so you can live the life that you want, but the world can live. Because we live in a sick society right now. We have people that are, that are under stress, and we got to come up with a better solution. So my job is to allow who you are to be able to express itself, all of us to come out of stress so that we can build a better mankind. So when I ask you to do your home care, if you're not doing your home care, literally, yes, we're making adjustments, but what happens is sometimes we have 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years of damage and patterns in your spine. If you ever want to be your very best, you have to do your home care. Put it into your calendar, put it into your SMART goals. If you're not doing any wobbles, do one wobble, right? If you don't use your rolls at all, just put it under your neck, or at least know where it is. Maybe my goal today is find my rolls. If the dog ate my rolls, maybe I just need to get some new rolls there, right? If you don't know, if you forgot how you're supposed to do it, or you don't know what the page is, we scan everything into the computer, we'll reprint it out for you. The reason why we do home care is because we want the very best for you. That's why our process is the way it is. We want you to be your very best so the world can be the very best. That's why we're on you. We don't ask you because we have nothing else to do about making the world a better place. All right. All right, Sherry?
I'm in.
All
I'm
right.
going to jump in and do the goals really quick, guys.
Yeah, he's like
I get to the goals, but okay. So quickly on your chiropractic goals that he went through. Here's a technique I want you to know also. If I looked up and I said, hey, chiropractic goals could be to make your appointment every single week. That's a reasonable goal, right? Now, you always get people who go, wait a minute, I already do that. Okay, you ready for this trick? Make that a goal. It's when you put it down on your list and your brain goes, hey, I'm doing goals already and I'm winning, right? By the way, the goal is the same we do with kids, by the way. Like when I was coaching high school kids, here's what you say to them. 20 laps freestyle, because they all complain. I say, okay, here's the deal. We're either going to do 20 laps freestyle straight, lappers. What do you guys want to do? And they all argue over which one they're going to do. They're going to do 20 laps. I didn't ask them. I gave them the choice, right? If you tell your brain, hey, my goal is to make it every week, I'm already making it every week, the brain will accept it. So making those appointments are huge. If not a chiropractic patient in here, guess what your first goal for chiropractic care is? Make an appointment to get in. Right? Like you got to start getting your spine and your nervous system taken care of. Performing home care is really important. What Dr. Osborne said, I totally agree with. As I go through your guys' re-exams, a lot of people are doing their home care. I don't have time, and I always just break it down. I make it small. I make it simple. I go, then just start doing it 5 times in the morning, and we'll build you up. I got to make you into a winner, right? You have to set goals and win, otherwise you won't do it. Okay, so start doing that. And sleep, that might be a nice goal too. I'm going to add to it sleeper goal, and I'm going to add one more thing. All of you guys know friends and family who should be here listening to this information, do you not? There's people right now, you could sit down and go, oh my gosh, that person should totally be here and learning this, right? So one of your goals could be introducing other people to this office. There's other people who need to be here, who need to be learning this information. They're not here. So we need you guys to be warriors and go out and share it. We have a ton of other events coming up and get more people here. I'd like to have this place, I mean, it's packed, but I'd like to have it sold out. We got to get another place, all right? There's more people we can help.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon. All right, so let's talk about nutrition. So would anybody be agreeing with me or disagree with me that probably for you to hit your goals this year, like all your dreams, that you probably have to eat good? Does that make sense? Like if we ate Burger King every single day for, I don't know, the next year, do you think you'd probably want to hit that identity, to be able to hit the identity of who you wanted to be, maybe, or would you probably fall a little bit short, right? So yes, we want to eat good, but also the number one thing is obviously making sure we have that clear neurologic connection between our brain and our body so that it actually can absorb the nutrients, because you aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb, right? Most people forget that. They think I'm eating healthy, and they don't absorb it. That's why you look at all these people with gut problems. They're not absorbing it. But where does gut problems start many times? Well, when we're under stress, when our nervous system's under stress, the gut shuts down. And so we try to treat it with all kinds of probiotics and all kinds of essential oils and all those different things. First things first there. So what you eat not only affects how you feel, but how your body functions. And that is a very big starting point there, okay? So what I want you to look at is, does anybody know who that is? Yeah. Chubby Checker, right? Chubby Checker is slender by today's standards, isn't he? Like back in the day, he was the big guy, and now you'd see him walking down the street, and you'd be like, those are kind of like six-pack abs you have on there. The point is this, is that we have become very obese. Just 2 years ago, we were like 38%. Now we're it's actually 42%, but obese. So we've gone up 10% in just the last couple of years there. The problem is this, if you look at all the things, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, stroke, arthritis, type 2 diabetes, and cancer, those are the things that most people are afraid of, right? Like if you literally ask people what their health fears are, that's the top of the list there. Or if we want to send in Alzheimer's or dementia, you can add that onto the list there. But the point is that all those things are directly tied through obesity. And so we have to pull our head out of the sand, and we just have to be realistic that we are what we eat, and what we eat becomes who we are. So I think that the thing about the obesity epidemic, it is more deadly than the coronavirus, and it's going to affect more people, and it's going to affect more families. And so really the problem that most people have is that they know what they want to be, they know what they're doing is wrong, they know that they want to be able to change, but they just don't have a plan, and that's what today's about. It's about helping you guys get a plan there. So here's the important thing there. I always think about this, and I wrote this down. What came first? Was it obesity or a state of ill health? Think about that. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Something had to come first. Were people obese and then they became sick, or did they become sick and then become obese? And what I'm going to teach you today is that you actually have to be sick before you become obese. It just doesn't. Your body, it can't. You have to be sick because the side effect, the symptom of the sickness many times is going to be the obesity there. And this is a hard pill to swallow, but if you think about what most people do when they're trying to lose weight, what do? They try to have low calorie, right? I'm going to have like a 100 or 1,000 calorie a day diet. I'm going to do things, and what it's going to do is it's going to slow down my metabolism. A lot of the foods that we have, they're prepackaged foods, right? How about this? This is what the average person thinks of what's cutting carbs is, right? I love that. That is not cutting carbs, by the way. So we get caught up in the words, right? It's the intention, but all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I nailed the carbs. But I love this at the end, once he gets about halfway through, he looks at the camera and he gives a big smile there. All right, so this is what the average person's diet looks like, right? And tell me if tell me if anybody's ever done this diet before. Just raise your hand in a second. Prepackaged, we have the soy protein powders. We eat a whole bunch of protein bars that stick to your teeth, and we're trying to fill ourselves up, and they taste kind of good because they have a lot of chocolate chips and chocolate on the outside, right? We have these low-calorie, nutrient-deficient, high-carb meals, right? Frozen, they're the frozen, Weight Watchers and stuff like that. Just because it's low-calorie doesn't mean it's healthy for you. Something that is frozen in a plastic package, something had to be given away there. High sugar, high carb liquid diet shakes. Oh, I need to have my shake a day and then I'll lose weight. No, basically what happens when we do that, we're literally starving ourselves there. How about rice cakes? Remember the rice cake diet? Everybody's like, I'm going to lose weight on rice cakes. Guess what rice cakes are? Carbs, right? Appetite suppressants and stimulants. Has anybody ever tried that diet plan? Does it work for you?
No.
No, right? Do you know how many people that's their plan for losing weight there? So if we're going to embark on this journey, and we're going to embark on talking about the most dangerous place, the most lethal place in the entire planet, which is the 3 inches between the front of your mouth and the back of your throat, right? We're going to have to find out what goes in there and what food is. Because everybody has so many different definitions of what food is. And so if we're going to be on the same page, we got to have a clear definition of what food is. Food is that which is eat that sustains life. So what you're eating is either building life in your body or it's not building life there. It provides energy. By the way, a rock star is not energy. It's stimulate. It's a stimulant. It's stimulation. Coffee is not energy. That's not considered a food. It's a stimulant there. And it promotes growth in your body. That means repair and repair of tissues there. It's nourishment. So food is nourishment, and it's designed to do all of those things. So if we're putting something into our body that doesn't do all of those things, then it's not food that we're putting into there, and there's going to be consequences from that. And a lot of times people get confused because I need to eat, I need to eat. Well, there's 2 types. Your body will use protein, right? There's 3 types of things that we'll eat: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Protein is only there for repair. But you have 2 sources of energy. The first one is going to be sugar or carbohydrates. And here's how this works. What happens is you take sugar, you eat it, it raises your insulin levels, it raises your blood sugar levels, raises your insulin levels, and then all of a sudden you're crashed down there. You only need about 1,700. Your body has about 1,700 calories worth of sugar stored in your body at any one time. Now think about this. The average person right now has about 70,000 calories of fat stored in their body at any one time. Of fat. We have 70,000 calories stored in there. So if we want to not eat, right, what's the most abundant source of energy that we have in our body? By the way, there is no essential sugars or essential carbohydrates that you have to have. You don't even need carbohydrates. Your body will actually make carbohydrates out of protein. Like it's that intelligent. It's so small. We only need about 1 teaspoon of sugar floating around in our bloodstream a day. And guess what? The average American is eating 31 teaspoons per day. That's 31 times. Your body has to work 31 times harder to keep that blood sugar down. And that's why the average person when their blood sugar levels are normal, what ends up happening is their insulin levels are 5 to 7 times higher than what normal should be. So in a second, I'm going to show you this, is that when we're looking at statistics, that we have about 30 million people in the United States that are diabetic. So diabetes is not a blood sugar issue, it's an insulin issue. Basically, your insulin has been so high, your body's given up on listening to it. We have 7 million people that are diabetics that they don't even know that they're diabetics. And the problem is they've just never been tested there, but they have diabetes and it's destroying their body there. We have 80 million people in the United States right now that are pre-diabetic. If they went to their doctor, their blood sugar levels would be normal, but they are pre-diabetic, means that they're going to be a diabetic there soon. So this is what we need to turn you into, is a fat burner. And I'm going to explain to you why this is incredibly important. Because here's the thing, this is the reality of what a sugar burner looks like. This is the sugar burner lifestyle. If you're primarily burning sugar as your prime source of fuel, you're gonna have gallbladder disease. Do you know how many people I have as practice members before they got here had their gallbladder taken out? It's from a sugar burner lifestyle. Heart disease, liver disease, we started looking at arthritis. Did you guys know that arthritis, like high sugar levels, will actually create advanced degeneracy of your spine and your knees and your elbows and your hands? We look at pancreas, all these issues, heart issues. All these issues are things of high blood sugar. And like I said, we have 30 million people, and look at this, almost 50% 5 years or older are actually diabetic right now. Now think of what happens. So they're going to their doctor, and they're treating all of these symptoms, but usually there's only one cause of those symptoms, which is that, and they've chosen. So here's how this works. Insulin literally is like this. Imagine if I'm at home, and I get a knock on the door from UPS, and they have a big package, and it's this big box of sugar. And I thank you, and I unlock the door here, and all of a sudden he knocks again, and eventually it's like that remember Lucy, all the boxes coming off the line there, and eventually I'm gonna have no space left in my house for sugar. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put another lock on the door. Well, now that the UPS guy's banging on the door, trying to kick the door in there, and he's shoving it in, and I'm pushing him back like this, and he's shoving that box of sugar into my house. Okay, now it gets in there, and eventually I'm going to padlock that whole door because I'm not going to let him in. Insulin is the key that allows that sugar to come in. But when there's too much in there, basically your body will do everything it can to survive by keeping the amount of sugar down. And what it does is it doesn't try to put it into the bloodstream, it tries to put it into fat. That's what insulin's job is. It turns sugar into fat. The easiest way to know that if you're pre-diabetic is if you look down and you can't see your belt, right? When we start to look and we have a pooch starting to come here, that is a prime indicator that you're either a diabetic currently or you will be a diabetic in the future, okay? So what happens is that insulin will then take the sugar out, it'll put it in the cell, it'll store it in your liver temporarily, or it'll just turn it into fat. But that's the job of insulin, is to get insulin out of the sugar out of the blood as quickly as possible. And it'll either go to the cell's full, it'll turn it into fat there. So that's the one thing I want you to look at. It'll actually convert extra fat into things around the fat around the belly, and it'll actually raise your cholesterol levels. It'll actually create high cholesterol levels because sugar creates inflammation, which damages the vessels of your cells. And to repair the Band-Aid that it puts onto there is cholesterol. So once it's cured, a lot of people are trying to lower their cholesterol, but it's really from the diets that they're having that it's a response of their body to try to repair the damage that's created. But also, so this is how we know if we're a sugar burner, okay? And this is, you'll be able to see this in the PowerPoint. It's on the website. You tend to be overweight. You have trouble losing weight. You have a large appetite. You crave sweets after meals. You eat sweets. It's just eating sweets doesn't relieve the craving. Like we call it the grazing phenomenon. Like I'm just hungry all the time, and I eat something and I can't satisfy myself there. We like a frequent thirst and an urge to urinate all the time. We have hormone issues like PCOS there. Females will have estrogen and testosterone imbalances, and one of the things the quickest thing that we do to be able to help people with hot flashes is to actually be able to reduce their sugar levels. It makes a massive difference there. There's not enough pills that you can take to fix that you choose there. We get those skin tags. If you guys remember in the diabetes class, we had the skin tags and high blood pressure and high triglycerides. If that is you, that is an indicator that you're a primary sugar burner. So this is a major factor. You have to be real, and I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm just trying to tell you the simple facts there. And how did this happen? Well, in 1971, the American Diabetes Association recommended that about 45% of all of our calories come from carbohydrates. That's interesting. Okay. But in 1986, all of a sudden, maybe our DNA changed. They started to recommend that 60% of our calories would come from carbohydrates. Wait a minute, something's going on there. 1994, the American Diabetes Association actually called table sugar a food for the first time. As a food. Who would have known? So the Journal of the American Medical Association says, well, maybe we got it all wrong. And I say probably, because what happens is I always say follow the money. Guess, you know how much the pharmaceutical industry supports the American Diabetes Association? To the tune of $31 million a year. And guess when that was? That's 5 years ago. So guess what? $31 million they pay to the American Diabetes Association. Don't you remember we had like Kellogg's with the 80 American Diabetes Association seal there? And it was a good diabetic food. They were getting paid to put that label on there on Cheerios, which is all what? And what does sugar do? Raises insulin and creates diabetics, right? So they're literally, that organization exists because they're trying to treat something that they're actually causing there. So here's what their food pyramid looked like. The whole base of the food pyramid, this is straight from their website, was all carbs. Look at that. The second part of it was actually good carbs. And then they had proteins, which eventually turned into sugar. And the last thing that's at the top is actually oils and fats. They said, don't stay away from oils and fats. Well, if you look, and you can't really see this, but our food pyramid, flip that upside down. And that's what we're going to talk about, is flipping, because if this worked, let's keep doing it. But this doesn't work. So I always say, if you want the opposite effect, do the opposite. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is doing the opposite there. So first of all, the last thing that I want you to know, that when that insulin's job is to make sure that we get sugar into our cells, but it also brings in potassium, and it balances out potassium and sodium there. Has your doctor ever told you that you should avoid sodium, because that'll keep you from swelling? Guess what? It's a very good indicator that you're actually a diabetic if you're having to reduce sodium just to keep the fluid out of your ankles there. Magnesium, that's for your heart. Your heart can't work right without magnesium there. The amino acids, it prevents vitamin A from getting into your cells. That's when it prevents vitamin B. Vitamin B repairs your nerves. Your nerves control everything. Sugar damages your nerves, and so, but it's also an anti-nutrient, so it destroys vitamin B in your body. Vitamin C, have you ever noticed that when somebody's a diabetic, they kind of get that soft skin, right? They kind of get that flab. Vitamin C is essential for you to be able to use collagen. Collagen makes up all the soft tissue in your body, and that's when we get the wrinkles and the skin issues there. Vitamin D, your immune system. We look at vitamin E, which is an antioxidant, which prevents premature aging. Vitamin K tells the calcium where to go, and if it doesn't know where to go, it's going to go straight into the blood vessels and harden the arteries there. And what's our solution? Just giving it like a cholesterol medication, which actually creates dementia there. It prevents calcium from getting into the cells, and it interferes with omega-3s from being, which actually balances out your hormones. Sugar is an anti-nutrient, yes.
Are you saying the things in the gray box, these are things we should have?
These are things that sugar prevents. When insulin levels are high, it prevents you from being able to absorb those things. And that's why we start looking, all these things are issues of deficiency caused by insulin. And I'm trying to, now, what is sugar? A lot of times people think it's a white powder devil, right? So right here on the PowerPoint you'll get, there's 257 names of sugar.
Right.
Okay, they're hiding it everywhere that they can find it. Okay, so then I try to simplify it for you. Anytime you see an ose, just know it's a sugar. Okay, any ose is a sugar. Dextrose, mannose, sucralose, right? All those things are sugars there, and you're going to find it. Yes, honey is a sugar. Yes, it's natural, but if you look at the amount of sugar in there, brown agave, white agave, agave nectar, maltodextrin, rice syrup. Juice is the worst. Juice typically has think about what people are trying to do. They go to Press Juicery and they literally take all these juices and they get rid of all the fiber that's in the juices, and then they mainline sugar, and they can't figure out why they're losing weight. We're addicted to it because it tastes good, but it raises our insulin levels. Just because if you want to juice, eat the vegetables and the fruits that they came in there. Don't get rid of the sugar, because the sugar cancels out the fiber in the vegetables and the fruits, cancels out the sugar. So what do we do? Well, first of all, what do we eat? First of all, the first thing that we need to do is we need to eliminate the bad fats. Okay, the bad fats like canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, they've actually been shown to decrease insulin sensitivity, meaning that the ability of the insulin to actually work on the cells, because those are what they turn into what they call trans fats, which harden the cell. It decreases the sensitivity of the insulin, and now even if you're eating a good diet and you have low sugar, your body can't actually repair itself, and so you become insensitive there. So we got to replace it with good fats. We have like our butters, and we have our coconut oils and our avocado oils. In your Align Your Health book, there's a whole chapter on replacing the fats there for your oil change. Right over here is a list of good carbs and bad carbs. Once again, it's in the PowerPoint there. But the reason being is we like the good ones because they have high fiber. If there are sugars, they're very low sugar. Now, there's a cheat sheet that I want you to think about, and this is on the website there, but it's looking for foods that are low glycemic foods. Okay, that means like low, they're the ones, if it has a high glycemic index, what it means is that it'll raise your blood sugar quickly. Low glycemic foods don't have as much of an impact on insulin. So if you don't know what to eat, just look up low glycemic foods there. But what we're going to talk about right now is not being a sugar burner. We're done talking about problems. We're talking about solutions right now. So what this looks like, if we're going to be a sugar burner, a fat burner, yes, this is what your body's primarily designed to work on. And look what happens. We lose our cravings. We have less hunger between meals. Our memory becomes better. It becomes clear. You become more functional there. Your cardiovascular system, your blood pressure lowers, your blood sugar, your cholesterol levels lower, your triglycerides lower, because when your blood sugar goes up, guess what happens to your triglycerides? Your mood improves. Oh, by the way, that's pretty much all I've had today, and I'm sorry if I don't have enough energy, but I've literally, just to prove a point, the only thing I've had today to eat was fat. You would think that I would be low blood sugar and a little crazy right now and cranky and yelling at people, but that's not the case. I have tons of energy right now, and this is what we want for you. And this is the path that we look at it. The first step is when we're trying to get our body into what we call a ketogenic state, is to limit the amount of carbs to about 20 to 50 a day. Now, the American Diabetes Association recommends it between 200 and 250 grams. So I'm going to tell you something a little different than the people that are on the payroll, okay? I have no vested interest in you being sick. I only have a vested interest in you being healthy. Number two, like I said, there's no essential carbs. You're like, doesn't my body need sugar? Your body can create sugar, it stores sugar. There's more than enough sugar, and if the average person's eating, look, you get all the sugar that you need from one bagel, okay? After that, it's over the top. It's being stored as fat there. And the other thing the key factor is I want you to think about is this is not, meaning it's not the high protein diet, because you get too much protein, it immediately converts into sugar. So you're actually going to have a negative effect. So it's not that you can go eat 4 pounds of hamburger today, okay? So we're going to do that, and we're going to be talking in a second about keto, but really it's about intermittent. The first step is going to be intermittent fasting, okay? And what that means is that intermittent fasting means time between meals, okay? So we've all been taught that we need to have like 5 meals a day, a whole bunch of small meals during the day, and that's the way that we keep from to keep losing weight. The problem is that when we do that, we're keep on spiking our blood sugar there. When we're fasting, some of the things that happens is that it reduces insulin resistance. Do you guys think that's a good idea? Yeah, right? Like it regenerates cells. There's something called autophagy, which literally, when you're fasting, your body takes all the dead, dying, damaged cells and breaks them down, turns them into new protein so it can actually rebuild cells. How cool is that? But when you have the high insulin, you can't go into that place. Your body can't repair and regenerate itself the way that it was intended to. Anybody heard of stem cells? Guess what fasting does? It actually helps your body produce more stem cells. Stem cells are the things that actually repair your body. How amazing is that? People want to have injections in their knees because they got arthritis in there, but we know sugar causes arthritis, and it raises your insulin levels, and it prevents you from actually being able to prevent stem cells there. So remember, there's a design that the designer made, and anytime you design, there is going to be a consequence. There will be a breakdown there. It's going to change your sleep cycles, our gut health. Do you know that what we find is that a lot of the microbes in our gut, they actually need time to work. And when you're constantly filling that gut up, they just can't work appropriately there. Brain function, heart function. These are just some of the benefits of fasting. So the first step in fasting is that I don't want you to eat for 3 hours before you go to bed. Can everybody do that? Do you guys know what the most dangerous time of night is? The time between the time we go to bed, right? That's usually where we're like, I need a little snack here, I need a little dessert here. The problem with that is that when that happens, it raises your insulin levels. Insulin levels, when they're high, they prevent growth hormone, which is your fat-burning hormone, from actually being produced. So the longer the insulin levels are high, the fat-burning hormone can't work there. Studies show that you need about 12 hours from your last meal to an hour break for all the energy, all the sugar in your body to be burned off so that you can actually start burning fat. So I always say the easiest way, if you want to start losing weight, why don't we just actually stop eating at 10 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock at night, and go to bed at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, because you'll probably be starving if you're a sugar burner. And then you wake up the next morning at 6 o'clock, and you've already fasted for 12 hours, and all of a sudden you're in a fat-burning mode at that point. How cool is that? You didn't even have to do anything. Your body produced growth hormone, it's repairing, and it's actually producing all these new stem cells, and you'll wake up having more energy there. Some of the things that we want to do, a lot of times we look at our chocolates, and we just got to change some of the things. We think, well, I'm going to just eat our nuts and our seeds. We'll get our nutrients in different ways there. People think I need to get my breads and my just to get my. I don't know what you think you get from breads and pastas, but like you can get the protein if you're concerned about protein. Just get it from the meats that you have. Just make sure they're clean meats, because if you eat a toxic meat, you're going to be toxic yourself there. Salty foods, many times that's a craving when somebody is a sugar burner. They're going to crave salty foods there. This is yes.
You said 3 hours before you go to bed. If I eat at 9 o'clock at night, and I go to bed at midnight, is that the same as eating at 6 p.m. at night and going to bed at night?
You're going to have to figure it out for what works in your life. I mean,
but I'm just saying 3 hours.
You need to have at least 3 hours. And I would, the biggest thing is your body loves consistency. So try to have the same meal at the same time. Your body loves routine. It thrives on that. The other thing is that because most of us have had so much sugar for so long, all those vitamins that I talked about, they're deficient. We run several tests on what's called an organics test, and the things that we found, there's 5 things. We have our magnesium, which is low. We have our vitamin D, which is low. We have our omegas, which is low. We have our vitamin B, which is low, and we have our vitamin C, which is low. All those things are what we call the daily essentials that most people have. So a lot of times in the process, these are what I call your lifetime vitamins. Everybody should just be taking those for a lifetime. And we used to have them all in different bottles. We just like packaged it so you could just have a packet to go. Makes it simpler and it's way cheaper there. But the thing is your body you can get rid of the toxicity, but if you're deficient in something, the motor's not going to work, right? The engine's not going to work if you're deficient in gasoline. So if you're not taking your daily essentials, you need to start taking that as a baseline thing. So that would be literally the second thing that I would tell somebody. Stop eating 3 hours before to go to bed. Baseline is start just taking your daily essentials. Make yourself sufficient there. So this is what keto looks like, okay? So we're changing the fats to about 60 to 75%. I mean, 60 to 75% fat, 20 to 30% protein, and about 5% carbs. Most of those carbs are not going to come from cookies. They're going to come from green vegetables. And you can eat a pound of green vegetables. In fact, if you have 1 bowl of oatmeal, you can actually have 14 bowls of spinach. That's the same amount of carbs, how your body processes it. It's the fiber that's in the spinach that allows you to do it. And guess what? I would say there's a little bit more nutrients in the spinach than there is in the bowl of oatmeal there. So where we're going to get these fats is is really our baseline. We're going to get it from our flipped over food pyramid there. Avocado, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, pasture-raised eggs, olive oils there. You can, and towards the end, we're going to go over like what I call that step 1 plan, which is really how do we shift our body into that fat burner? Because what your body does is when it's burning fat, it converts it into something called ketones. Ketones are that endless energy supply. Once your body's converted over, you'll be able to burn for long periods of time, and you won't have those crashes there. Second thing is we want to have high levels of vegetables. Then we're going to bring in our proteins there. Then we're going to bring in our nuts and our seeds. Then we'll have our fermented foods. And then we're going to have our natural sweeteners. I don't know if you guys noticed there's no bread, pasta, cereals on there. Okay. Imagine if this was your food pyramid and how you lived your life. The design would be able to work perfectly there. So why do we do keto? Well, first of all, it reduces your cancer risk. Yeah, we don't do chemo. We never do chemo. Okay, it reduces your cancer risk because think about this: cancer cells like sugar 8 to 15 times more than regular cells. Okay, by stop being a sugar burner, you're going to reduce your risk of cancer significantly. And in fact, most natural cancer treatment programs, guess what they do? They have somebody go into ketosis because cancer cells can't survive. They need sugar there. Obviously, you're going to lose weight when you eat it because remember, we're getting healthy. We're giving your body the nutrients that it needs. We're going to increase our heart health. Our skin's going to start looking better. The wrinkles are going to start going away. Our brain's going to work. Memory works. And we reduce our blood sugar there. Does anybody want that, by the way? Yeah. Okay, and it's really simple. You just have to have the plan. I don't want you to forget about something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. Literally, that's the thing that repairs your brain. Literally, BDNF is like actually stimulated when you have and when you have high levels of sugar, it literally gets prevented from being produced. So your brain can't even repair itself when we have the high levels of sugar there. And also glutamate is actually really, your body actually is in ketosis there too. Glutamate is what. So imagine trying to take probiotics and then eating like drinking a 6-pack of Coke or eating a box of cheese. it's not going to work. There's not enough probiotics in the world that you can take that will overdo having the high sugars there. So hopefully we're starting to see some of the conflicts and the things that we've been doing there. All right. In your on there, this is backwards. I know. Don't tell me. I freaked out when I saw it. But I put two perspectives in there. One's the keto perspective. We have 4 plans here in the office. We have what we call the keto plan. We have the advanced plan. We have the core plan, and we have the everybody else in the United States doing what they're doing, making themselves sick plan. That one's actually not in the office. I just made that up. So the point of that is this. The perspectives are there as a guideline for you. There's a step-by-step looking at the 5 essentials. You can plug and play into your list of the things that you want to do, setting your goals, plug and play into there to be able to what plan that you want there. So here's the thing. We're going to come back from break in a second, okay? I'm sorry I went 7 minutes longer than I planned on, but I got a lot of signs. But the point of this is we have some keto bars out there for you guys to try. When we come back, we're going to be going over how to apply the basic foundational things that we talked about, how to incorporate it into your daily routine, and what the plan looks like there. All right. So bathrooms are there, keto bars are up there. You guys have water, and I'll see you in like 15 minutes. If anybody, just reminded me, if anybody, there was any products that anybody, resources that anybody wanted, tonight's all the resources are 15% off. Any person that's like a guest here, you can set up your 5 essentials exam at the front desk there too.
No, I think it is. Oh wow, that's a long time. That's a long time. It is, but I tried to do it. Oh. Wow. It's been hours. Wow.
Do you not have a water on your therapy? Oh, that's right. Yeah. You okay?
Yeah.
They got, I think people were wondering.
I am. Yeah, I wanted to Have you taken any?
You know, the ones that taste good. I mean, I eat them all.
Yeah, I think they have different. No, not vegan. Yeah, when I heard it, I had a migraine.
Dance with you.
I'm gonna go ahead.
You know, like I don't want to do that, but you know, I don't have to worry about how and also just information.
Yeah. That was awesome.
The problem is I have so much stuff I want, and then I have to use it, and then it's like only look at my Yes. Yeah. I'm good about this. Again,
I already trained myself to do Again, I go to bed.
Thanks, sir.
I'm no later than
That whole structure, muscle, how they connect. I really love it. I'm gonna get that blood right. Same for my blood.
I don't have to put in here. Exercise clothes on.
There's something else that's very
I don't have I just that morning workout also, and the past couple of, I just started. For this week is when I dropped on. I have for a year, so I use that, and it really like. I mean, I almost fell asleep. Like I almost like you to 2 minutes, 5 minutes. It's like that's not very long. Yeah. It's not very long. No, it was a, but it really like just, I was just not, it was already. Yeah, it's very warm. Like this week. Oh, I have. I like that. But it's just, having to get used to that. Because we went from like being really super cold to not. And I'm like, oh my God. But
I've never seen shoes like that before.
But now I get it, and I'm like, I'm working 10 weeks, some of it's been healthy. So, like, let's Shady said, get up 2 to 3 hours before you actually leave. And then you can do some of that.
All right, here we go. We're going to find a seat. We're going to get started again. Grab your seat. We're going to start right back up. Hey, you want to turn that music? Have a seat. We're going to get started. There's supposed to be people listening. All right, so if we get the music off, we're going. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple more things about goal setting, and then Dr. Osborne's got another event, and then I'm going to come back up and show you some mind stuff on the goals that I've learned. So a couple of issues that we have. Okay. Oh, wait, we got to do this first. There's your nutrition goals. Everybody has nutrition goals. Almost everybody. We all struggle with it. Addiction problems that we have, I'll share with brain works. So there's not a single one of you that I bet if I said you're going to give me a nutrition goal at some point. The problem is nutrition goals are you're battling a brain, a very old survival mechanism in it that we crave carbs. And so it's a battle. Your brain literally, some of your goals, listen, some of your nutrition goals, honestly, go against everything your brain thinks. Everything. Like you set a goal and your brain's like, yeah, if I do that, I die. good luck making that goal, right? Like your brain just thinks literally life or death stuff. So nutrition, the key for nutrition goals is make them attainable. You gotta start simple, right? Simple goals on these when you set them. Choose eating a strategy like this. Fasting. I started experimenting with fasting about 6 months to a year ago, and here's how I did it. I decided on a Monday morning when I got up and I came to the office, now the reason I did that is I knew that I can't really eat here while I'm adjusting with you guys, right? So I had to get over, I said, where's my hurdles? Like, where's the hard thing? The hard thing was coming down the stairs dressed and trying to get past, right? And it's so weird because in the beginning, the first Monday I tried it, I didn't get past the kitchen, right? Again, you got to remember you're playing with the brain. Your brain's like a toddler. I was like, I'll do it next week, right? Okay, the next Monday I did get past. And it was so weird. That Monday when I was adjusting in here, I felt shaky. I hadn't eaten. It was really weird. I ate at lunch. I couldn't wait to eat. And then I did it the next Monday. And then I was like, oh, actually it was okay. And now I do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. So I just kind of do it fast. That means I eat dinner on the night before. It's like about a 12-hour fast. When I went to school, we did nutrition talks. They talked about how that wasn't healthy to do. Undergrads in exercise physiology, and they taught us the nutrition classes were like, no, don't do that, because if you do that, your body will actually store more fat. That's what we were taught. Whenever you think of nutrition things, always think back thousands of years ago, like, what does it make sense? And when the whole fasting thing came out, and I started reading on it and looking into it, I thought, that's against what they taught us, but does it make sense? And the answer to me was yes, because thousands of years ago, we didn't have access to food so it would make sense to me that thousands of years ago, human beings probably didn't have refrigerators and could eat as much. They did wake up, and then I watched these survival shows. I'm like, oh, they're kind of having a hard time finding food. So the survival mechanism of fasting all of a sudden made a little more sense to me. Okay, so start it easy. I wouldn't recommend, listen, if you want to be successful, I would not recommend saying, you know what I'm doing Saturday morning? I'm fasting. Yeah, good luck, because you're right by the kitchen, right? Like all day. Okay, so good luck. Keto, you can start on that one too. Start easy. He's going to go through that a little bit more, but pick out a few things. You can start changing that slowly. Set your goals. Don't go. You got to be successful. The key is being successful. You're playing this game for long term, not short term, right? Advanced plan, the same thing. You can see it in the book. You can start that. That's when you're start eating in that direction. You can set a goal and say within 2 weeks, I'd like to be eating it stronger, right? And I'm going to start in the next 2 weeks to get there. Minimizing sugars, this is a big one, but it's easy because everything you eat probably has sugar in it. It's looking for sugar options that aren't there, okay? All right, here's why we fail at some of the goals. A, we aim too high. Here's the number one thing I want you guys to get out of tonight is don't aim too high. Everybody does this. Aim low, right? There's a famous quote about goal setting. It says, shoot for the moon. Why? Because if you miss the stars, right? Same idea. I don't want you to go crazy on this. Okay? A reasonable goal. Don't aim too high. Also, we don't know how to do. You guys all know. You all raised your hand. You all know. Everyone's failed. You know it's coming, right? My football coach in high school taught us never too high, never too low. Right? This guy was a championship coach. I used a lot of his techniques that I've coached over the years. Never too high, never too low. He said we walk off the field like we've been there before. You lose a game, you walk off with your heads high and know you're coming back next week. Never too high, never too low. So when setbacks happen in your goals, you take them in stride. You tell your brain, I knew that was going to happen. I'm okay. Here's my strategy to regroup, right? Here's how I do. I don't give up, though. I regroup. By the way, people who are successful are the ones who don't give up. They have it's not that they don't have setbacks. They just regroup and keep moving forward. Okay? We lose motivation. Usually this is because you're not being successful. Your brain back into the old model, right? I knew I wasn't going to, all that bad talk comes in. I knew this wasn't going to work. I'm not winning. Not winning, you lose motivation. That's why I told you your goals have to be short, right? Small goals, and then you're winning, you won't lose motivation. Social pressures and convenience, this is a killer. I was watching an interview of a builder. He's a champion, and his life is amazing. And they were talking to him, and they said, how are you so strict? How do you not cheat? And here's what he said. You guys ready for this? He goes, I cheat. But here's ready for this. He goes, but I only deviate from my diet when I want to deviate. And I thought, ooh, that's good. In other words, he goes, if I go to a Christmas party, right, I don't go, okay, I'll eat the cookies, right? But he could tell himself in advance, I know I'm going to this party. There will be cookies. I will allow myself. He's in that control. By the way, that's level goal set, right? Like he's in such control that he knows when he plans, and he allows himself to do that in advance instead of falling prey to the social pressures or the convenience of, oh, what the heck, I'll just do it. Okay, so plan out those things. We like immediate rewards. When I come back to the part, I'm going to talk to you guys about the difference between pleasure and happiness, because ultimately that's the biggest thing on goals that I want you to get. Pleasure versus happiness is a huge difference in our brains, and you understand it because most of the American you guys understand this. They've understood it since the 50s. They've used it against us dramatically. Okay, so when I come up, we'll talk about that. Okay, not too late. Set those goals easy. Dr. Osborne is up and he's ready to go. He's up and ready to go. There he is.
All right. So here's the two things. Number one, you stay in contact with him, let him know your goals. So his email address is Dr. Sherry.
That's a good one. That's a good one. You have no idea the joke that he just made right there. That's funny.
At drtjosborne.com. Dr. Sherry at drtjosborne.com. Literally just like connect with him and let him know that just getting it out and saying it, but you don't have to go out to the world with it. You don't have to put it on Facebook there, but stay in contact with him. The other thing is that I want you to understand is the obstacle. I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy. And literally, a lot of times we come up against these obstacles, and you will come up against the obstacles and embrace the obstacle. If you ever look at anything that's hard, that's been hard in your life, when you get to it and you figure out, and then that process that you grow. So don't be afraid of the obstacles. Don't be afraid of the challenges. The obstacle is the way to look forward to it, because then you can come up with different strategies. All right. So I think the one thing, the big challenge a lot of people have when we're trying to, have you ever tried to lose weight and we lose about 5 or 6 pounds and then boom, it just stops, right? And we're just stuck at that place. And we're really going to talk about weight loss resistance. Now, I will talk in a second. I'm going to talk about how we're going to do this, how we're going to implement this. I had a couple of questions at break. Number one is people talk about, has anybody ever tried to eat keto before? Okay. So, and one of the biggest challenges people get is they get constipation. Okay. Things just don't move very well. Well, the challenge with that is that when you are going on keto, fat burner, and guess what is in your fat cells? Well, let's talk about it. Toxins. Your body likes all the toxins. It's so intelligent. It's so smart that it recognizes these toxins as a threat to you being a human being and living, that it says, I need to get them out of the bloodstream. And actually, it's really interesting. Has anybody heard about mercury, right? We're all freaked out about mercury. And they said, well, if this mercury is just the same amount as in a flu shot, as in a tuna fish sandwich. Well, and they said, so mercury has problems. Well, what they don't, your body's so smart, and literally when mercury goes into your body, it never leaves, but what it does is it takes the mercury quickly out of the bloodstream and sticks that. And guess what your brain's made of? Fat. It's that smart. And that's the biggest challenge when we the problems that we have here. We have the BPAs in our plastics. Does anybody in their life? Right? Okay. Microwaving in a plastic bowl growing up, right? There's plastic dinners there. Microwave warming something up in a plastic cup before we knew that it was the worst thing that we can possibly do. A water bottle in your car that's been sitting there for a month and a half and you're really thirsty and it's been hot the whole time it's in. Those are what are those plastics literally don't leave your body. And they get stored into your fat cells. We start looking at things like lead. We don't have lead, or whatever lead was in your mom is in you right now. We start looking at the bees. Did anybody ever watch? There's a movie called Dark Water that just came out. Did you guys see that? This whole story about Teflon. Does anybody use the Teflon? And so they take away like C8. And what's interesting about that is they said that in 99% of the population of the entire world has it in their body. 99%. And it's been linked to fertility issues. It's been linked to cancer. It's what's called an obesogen. In fact, the people that were on the line, they took all the women off the line because all the women were having sex, and a third of the town actually has cancer. And so they, 5 years ago, I said, do you know that they just banned, remember that? But they gave them a 5-year window because they had to come up with a different thing. So they just changed one little molecule. It's still Teflon, but it's a different thing. And after they paid out billions and billions and billions of dollars in fines. So there's all these little things that we don't know about. So one of the first things I can tell you is get rid of your Teflon pans. Watch Dark Waters there. It really is an incredible movie. What do? We use, and like I have a whole toxicity makeover that we did that's online. On that makeover, we gave all the suggestions to be able to do how to change your personal care products. Now, fluoride in the waters that we're eating. We look at the formaldehydes, not only in our shots that we get, but in a lot of the preservatives that are like we put on our skin creams onto our faces. It's a preservative there, and all the parabens. Like you have to. When we do our shopping trip, we teach people to use something called Skin Deep. And what Skin Deep does is it allows you to see if it's a healthy or a bad personal care product. So we're exposed to toxins. And in fact, this is an interesting thing, and I want you to think about this. Do you guys know that there's something called, have you ever heard of glyphosate? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And so what happens with glyphosate? I want you to look at this chart. These were the obesity trends, this green line, right? Before glyphosate was introduced. What I want you to look at is this is when glyphosate, this red line, is when glyphosate was introduced. We released about 5 million pounds of glyphosate into our environment. There's about 9, it's what they call a forever chemical. This doesn't just disappear. It literally is destroys your gut bacteria because I think it was initially created to be like an antimicrobial there. It destroys the soil, but if it destroys the soil, it also destroys you. Look at this. So this is the prevalence of diabetes when glyphosate came out. Here's the age-adjusted deaths with glyphosate. We start looking at intestinal infections because the glyphosate destroys your intestines, your ability to absorb foods there. So we have to really look at, there is a real reason why people say non-GMO. Why people use organic, why we do these things, because the foods themselves, whatever you eat goes into you and it gets stored. And so as our body getting into a ketogenic state, as we're losing the sugar that we're eating and we're starting to eat more fat, the body will start dumping those toxins into there. And it gets dumped straight into the gut and we start to get constipated. And so then the body will stop that weight loss process because what it doesn't want to do is dump any more toxins into the gut and reabsorb it right into your body. So we really have to have this balance between changing our meals and changing the way that we eat and also the toxicity of the foods that we eat. But we really have to look at realizing that we're doing damage of many years before there. Okay? So I thought this was interesting that when they look at 5 of the most toxic chemicals that were found in 100% of samples of people that they tested there. And a lot of the chemicals have been banned in the United States, including the product at DDE, which is a breakdown of tea, which was banned in the early 70s. Still found in a large majority of the population, these forever chemicals don't disappear. So just because you eat clean doesn't mean that you're not exposed to these things and it's not having an impact on you. How about MSG? It's a neuron. And what it does is MSG causes your taste buds to swell up. When it does, it increases the surface area, and it actually makes it taste better. And so, problem is that it damages brain cells. Guess what controls your body? Brain. Thank you. One more time. What controls your body? Brain. Right. So it destroys that. It creates brain lesions. It creates something called leptin insensitivity. Leptin is the thing that turns on and off your fat-burning hormones there. Literally, it interferes with your body to turn on and off that fat-burning hormone. Obviously, it leads to obesity. So we have to start looking, just because we're making better choices, we have to make better, healthier choices. These are just a list. I put a list of some of the things that other names. Remember, there's always another name, right? This way, they don't even have to say that it has MSG in there if it's not 99% pure. If they cut it with something else, they don't even have to say that it's MSG like that. What's even more interesting is that like many times when they were in the dark waters, they were talking about they actually have what's called BST or BTS, business trade secrets. They don't even have to tell you what's in most of the chemicals that are out there because it's a business trade secret. You'll never know what's in the chemicals that you're putting into your body. 85,000 chemicals since the 40s, and less than 15% of them have actually been researched for their safety. And many times the company can just tell you whether it's safe or not. And if at that,
Why is anything protein?
what's that?
Does anything protein?
Usually when they have, they'll say like, you know, beef or something like that. It's a form of MSG there. So does anybody know what this is? This is an abdomen, but do you know why it looks so weird like that? Because that's where they would inject their insulin. Okay, so we'll inject insulin. That's where the fat will show up. So guess what this is? This is just somebody that eats a lot of sugar insulin. Okay, there is no difference. So what we want to do is we also need to rethink our drinks. We look at the amount of sugar, just having like those Arizona iced teas. We don't want to have something bad, but it's got 51 grams of sugar in there. Think about that. That's almost twice your body's daily requirement of table sugar. We start looking at a naked juice. We're going to be healthy. We're going to juice 53 grams of sugar in a naked juice. That's going to throw your insulin levels crazy, and that's the problem. Just because it says natural, I need you to be thinking people. I need you to start looking at the foods and not just looking at the label saying it's healthy or not healthy, because their job is to sell you products. They don't care about your health when they're doing it. If they did, they would keep they wouldn't be selling it with 53 grams of sugar there. All right. Sweeteners. April State, 1998. Sucralose became on the market there. What's interesting is that sucralose will actually, the studies have shown, actually take your gut, the bacteria in your gut, and it'll actually stimulate the bacteria that create obesity within the gut there. So they actually have done studies where they actually have people take diet 7-Up, and they have them take regular 7-Up. So no sugar, sugar, right? And it fools the brain, and so afterwards they put a bowl of M&Ms in front of these people, and the people that had actually ate significantly more M&Ms. A lot of people that drink diet sodas, they're not the thinnest people in the world, right? And it's not because there's no toxins in there, it stresses out the whole. There's good, better, best, and there's never. And so our artificial sweeteners are never destructive on our body, and they're toxins into our body on that point. All right, obesogens. This is Cheryl had we didn't get a chance to do it, but we will put it on the webpage. It's literally I put a whole article together on obesogens, and obesogens are chemical products. It's on there now. Oh, so good. And they're actually better than I thought. I love you guys. But obesogens are literally environment that perpetuate obesity, and I need you to be aware of them, because if you're not aware of them, they literally stimulate the actually being. And so this is a major thing, and they're in things from baby bottles, right? Isn't that interesting? They're in things like the plastics in our cookware and our cosmetics. Literally, what you're putting on your face can stimulate the obesity response there. It can actually keep your body from losing weight. And because remember, your body has to keep all those toxins somewhere because it can't get rid of them there. So here's a quick way. Are you toxic? You know, do you have chronic fatigue, right? In the morning you're tired, you're tired long, and you're tired when you go to get up the next morning there. You have problems losing weight, even though you're doing the right things. And that's where most people do. They eat all the right stuff, and the toxins into there, and it basically stops the weight loss process. Hormonal imbalances. This is the big issue with toxicity, because most of these toxins, they mimic estrogen. They mimic our body, and it just wreaks havoc with our body being able to function right. Mental fog. That is one of the number one indicators for me that somebody has the brain fog. Is one of the number one indicators of toxicity there. We look at mood changes, highs and lows. Every chemical has an impact on your nervous system and how your brain thinks there. Depression, headaches, skin. Skin is a major. The number one way that your body excretes toxins is through your skin. People are starting to have skin issues, like psoriasis and a lot of the eczema, like eczema right now. times what we have to do is we detox the person. I actually had I talked about this, a little girl that had, she came into the office and literally her skin was falling off of eczema. It was to put her into Clorox baths every night. That's what the doctor told her to do. And they literally been injecting her with steroids. Her gut was completely destroyed. She literally couldn't detox. Like, that was the only solution. And then you had to start rebuilding her from the inside out there. There's no outside in solution. You started having people like Dr. Osborne are really sensitive to smells. Sensitive to smells, it's a very big indicator to me that they have chemical toxicity. They have a chemical that puts their body in that heightened state of awareness there. Bad breath and bad odor, worsening PMS, these are all signs that we need to really focus on not only changing our nutrition, but focusing on cleansing there. The problem is that we're exposed to so many chemicals on a daily basis. Our body's smart. It has a process that works, but it gets overwhelmed. It's they're designed to be able to expose to the amount of toxins that we're facing. And so really the first detox process is that your body needs to have the required nutrients. And those required nutrients pull the toxins out of the cells. Now watch this. You guys remember when I talked about B vitamins earlier? Guess what insulin does? It destroys B vitamins in your body. It prevents your body from absorbing B vitamins at the accelerated rate. Glutathione, which is your body's natural detoxifier. And we're exposed to the amount of chemicals, literally become depleted in that. Antioxidants like vitamin E that insulin prevents you. Vitamin C, remember we talked about vitamins, minerals, it prevents minerals, high levels of insulin prevent minerals. Literally, by having high levels of insulin, it creates a deficiency and even prevents your body from going into stage 1 detox there. The first step of detox, most of us are deficient in the tools that we need to be able to get the toxins out of our body. And that's why I always tell vitamins, right? Your lifetime vitamins, those are the things that make up for the world that we live in. It's not just to make up for being alive in this world where the foods are depleted and we're exposed to the toxins there. Once the toxins come out of the cells, then they have to be able to actually get eliminated from the body. What we need to have is our mag and our B12, and we need to have a lot of our amino acids. The reasons why when we look at the people have problems where they get what's called the keto flu. They're trying to lose weight, their body's dumping from their fat cells. It all goes into the system. They literally, from that, they get nauseous. They get literally their whole system shuts down because it's deficient there. So if you're having symptoms like a keto flu, as we start to change from a sugar burner to a fat burner, just know that it's probably because you're deficient something. And so when I put the challenge together, it's designed to be able to teach your body, to give your body the tools that it needs there. All right. The other thing is this: detox from technology. This is the #1 detox there. Literally, done studies where they look at the children that were in the utero they did a study with 733 kids, and they followed them for 13 years. And the ones that were exposed to the most electromagnetic frequencies while they were in utero were actually obese. The higher the exposure to magnetic frequencies, the more obese they were. The studies, it actually prevents something called choline from being produced in your brain. Choline allows your brain to repair itself. Okay, so when I have somebody we work with, like the sharks and the barracudas, and they get a concussion, we don't let them take an ibuprofen because it prevents choline from being released in the brain. We don't let them take antidepressants because it prevents choline, the thing that repairs your brain, being produced. We don't let them take Benadryl. Did you know that there's huge correlations to Benadryl and dementia? Because Benadryl prevents choline from being released. So think about this. Anytime we put a chemical in, there's going to be a consequence there. And so literally the average person spends 11 hours a day on technology. And they look at that when the people are exposed to the electromagnetic frequencies, within 4 hours, their anxiety levels go up. Do you guys ever feel that? Like you're just like, I'm just stressed by looking at my phone, not much with what the emails say, but just being around it. So we live in a world that we constantly have to be focusing on detoxing there. All right. So this is where we go from here. Okay. This is the big key, and this is where we want to start writing down all simple steps that will allow us to be able to take it up to the next level there. And with that, just sharing. Perfect. Very good. Yeah. All right. Oh, wow. That was good. We were just talking about it. Why don't you pick one? Don't look. TG Osborne's the bigger one. All right. Miss Sharon Cho. All right. You get to have monk fruit extracts. It actually will not raise your blood sugar levels, and it actually tastes really sweet. And so you can mix it into things when you want it and create the cravings there. So this is for you, for being here, for being awesome, and for being lucky. There you go, catch.
All right, so we're going to do this is such a big one on the goals, and it's actually a fairly easy one to start becoming more aware of these things. I think sometimes we do the talking workshop and it's a bit overwhelming, right? You get all these big chemical names flooding at you. I think sometimes you can just pick out one or two of the toxins and figure out what's you can probably start with shampoos and all that stuff. I know when I did this, it was sort of a bummer because I realized like everything I had was like toxic. So you go online and you start getting different and different all kinds of stuff. And it's kind of fun. In fact, I that Christmas my stockings got different toothpaste, different shampoos, different everything, right? Just loaded them up. So one thing you can start out is switch plastic dishes, using only stainless steel pots and pans. The talk about Teflon, by the way, is they've known for years that when it gets like medium heat or higher, it bubbles that stuff off. Yeah.
Now we have this non-stick. They no longer call things.
Yeah, they changed the name.
Non-stick. Is that the same?
I think so. They've changed the name. They changed it briefly. I'm still a little leery. If I can get by without it, I do. But the thing is, the company even knows, like, if you keep the temperature low, it doesn't boil off. But they don't. Yep.
Is cast iron okay?
I think cast iron is worth it. Only use natural cosmetics as much as you can. It's a big one. Trying to watch the Wi-Fi stuff. I think the five stuff that's coming out is pretty scary, but we'll find out as time goes on. Yep.
I don't know if they're natural. I mean, they can say they're natural, but
yeah, I actually don't wear makeup, but don't listen to it. I see it. I didn't sentence except for Saturday. I did dabble. You know what? There's probably I know, like my daughter's done, like, there's some really good, the women you guys probably know, there's some really good natural cosmetics.
We have a whole list called If You Just Ask Me For It. Next time, all of us put all of our household beauty products, personal care products that we use.
That's perfect. What is it, Alyssa? What is it?
Oh, sorry. It's called Discover Secrets.
And where is it?
You just ask me for it and I'll get it to you.
What she'll probably do, she'll actually probably put it on the page.
I could do that.
Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to say, just turning off the Wi-Fi before bed.
Yes, that's another great one. You guys heard that? Turning the Wi-Fi off. Yeah. Good. Yep.
There's also an app called Think Dirty where you can code and it will tell you the EWG score of that product.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It'll like give you a green light, yellow light, or red light, whether or not it's a safe product to use.
Yep, you got that Think Dirty. Think Dirty. It's just on your phone, and I've used it too. You just scan, and it'll give you a rundown on a lot. Okay, mindset. Interesting things. What you have to realize when we do goals, and remember I told you you're battling your own mind. I think once you grasp that concept that actually your brain's going to wrestle with you on this, and you have to treat it like a toddler and figure out how to think of it, you start winning goals. Right? Here's the thing, though. Your brain has to be functioning properly to do this. Stress is the #1 thing that attacks us, and it's the #1 thing that changes your brain into survival mode. You're thinking, I want to eat a lot of sugar, but your body's under a lot of stress. It's craving sugar, hits your pleasure center, and so now you're fighting, and you're like, I just can't do this goal stuff. It never works. Well, that's because you're under so much stress. Your brain is. The way you fight against stress is exercise predominantly or motion. Chiropractors have known for years, and our studies keep coming back. When we adjust spines, we fire nerves that actually create a relaxation in the brain, which is pretty cool. However, you can make an exercising even more, right? You have to move. We're such motion creatures That God made us to move, to be healthy. It runs your brain. You get these really nice health rewards if you're moving, you're exercising. God really wasn't to us physiologically if you don't move. Like, God really punishes us brutally if you sit around and don't move. Like, really bad. Like, every single study that comes around and says, as a mammal, if you sit around, everything, and I'm not kidding, everything breaks down. Your muscles melt, your nerves stop functioning, your brain gets smaller. Like, it doesn't take long, right? There was a study with rats where they just fused their spine, and they went in and pulled cells out 2 days later, and the study said we already found cellular death taking place inside the disc of the spine within 2 days. So things break down rapidly in the body. We're clearly designed, and when you move, you get these great rewards in your brain, and the body actually switches away from stress into a happy place. Clearly, that's like the strongest thing we can do. And we know this happens when we adjust. And by the way, most of the nerves that do this are in your neck and your back. So the more we move, the better. All right? The more you move, the better. That's one of those goals, like I said, even if you're just walking. Women, there was a study done down in Fullerton that showed a 2-minute walk every day decreased breast cancer by almost 40%. Wow. That's huge. And that was only a 20-minute walk. You can just walk 5 minutes a day. That's a good start. You can start filling that up. The health benefits, just walk easy. Crazy good study, okay? Everything does better when we move. Here's another one that I don't think, and I don't have a lot of time. I do a sleep workshop, but I spend an hour going into this stuff. But most of us don't, and especially in the Western part of the world here, don't understand the damage of this problem. So much so that in our culture, people who sleep get made fun of. People who are told they're lazy, they're not hard work. Culture has switched this over. Here's the deal with this. When we look at what your body needs to be alive, a lot of times you can do this where you find out, like, okay, how important is oxygen? Well, what you can do is you can take someone and just give it to them and see what happens to them. And it turns out without oxygen, we die with it, right? So you go, oh, it must be pretty important. Nerve impulse from your brain going down to your body. Is it important or not important? Well, it turns out if you separate high enough, we die within seconds. Oh, it must be pretty, right? Food, fairly important. You can take weeks, right? Months before you die. Water, pretty live for days and weeks without it. But you can get an idea of the importance of something. Listen, that's with sleep. Okay? Actually, before I tell the study, I have to give you a basis. The act of sleeping, when you go to sleep, your brain runs a cycle. Now, has everyone heard the term REM, rapid eye movement? Okay, and the term non-REM, right? In-REM. That's when your eyes aren't moving. There's two different done this. When they hook all of us up to brain waves, they're reading our brain waves. Here's what the brain wave looks like when we're awake. And almost every researcher who's currently researching sleep, you know what they've decided this means? They have no idea. They cannot figure out what in the hell. I heard one interesting researcher said, you know what it is? He said, imagine you take Levi's football stadium full of thousands and thousands of people, and you bring a microphone right down the middle and you listen. And what would you hear? Just, you can't pick out any conversation. It's just static noise. So most of them agree that's kind of what this is. All of these nerves in your brain are talking and interacting, and there's parties going on, and things are happening, and you're thinking, and we listen in, and we're like, I can't get it. It's just too much, okay? When we fall asleep, though, our brain quickly goes into REM. What they do is they look at the way your eyes move, okay? So there's a couple things we look at. We look at how the muscles are acting, okay? So when you're awake, muscles are active, and the eyes are moving around. When you initially fall asleep, we go into this phase called REM, which is brain waves active. Look at that. REM, very much like when you're awake. The same basic brain waves. The muscles, though, hardly move. But the eyes are flicking all over the place. On REM, the brain waves are dramatically different. There's no other time in the human being's experience are the brain waves look like this. They're these gigantic, organized structures that go. Muscles still moving, eyes not moving. When they start looking at this, what happens is this. Here's how we sleep. When you first, you guys can all see this. You go through a brief, very, very brief stage of REM where your eyes are kind of moving as you fall asleep, and you quickly drop into a very, very deep non-REM. After about an hour, hour and a half, you resurface up. There's a brief amount of REM, and you drop right back into non-REM. Can everyone see that? And then notice the cycle. What happens? You drop into this non-REM stage, very heavy in the beginning of the sleep pattern. Later, sleep into REM. More REM. A lot of REM. Now, let's talk about what the differences are. We don't dream in non-REM. We dream in REM. That's when you're actually able to dream. Notice in REM what your body does. It actually, the nerves going down to your body so you can't really move. It turns off the muscles so that your brain is free to do whatever, go through the process without you moving around. There's a few nerve conditions where that doesn't work, right? There's videos of like dogs dreaming and they pop up and run into walls because they have a condition that doesn't block that, okay? But REM is when we dream, non-REM we're not. What we think is happening is when you go into REM and you get these gigantic, big brain waves, your brain is actually cleaning itself out. Okay? Those deep waves travel all the way through your brain, and what it seems to do is during the day while you're collecting all this information and input, your brain's putting it in a little box, and when you finally slow down, it goes, we can go organize some stuff. But before I organize it, do a deep cleaning process. So it goes in, it does a deep clean, and then it goes, okay, I think I'm good. I'm going to go up to REM, take some of the new information from the day, and start putting it away. It'll put some stuff away, and it goes, okay, now I'm going to go in, do another cleaning process, put some things away, put away, a little more cleaning. Okay, now I'm pretty much done. I'm just going to put the last hour or 2 hours, I'm just going to put stuff away. REM, really, really important. They take rats, didn't let them sleep. It's not a nice study. They didn't let them sleep. If you don't let a rat sleep, it dies in 18 days. 18 days. You keep it awake, it'll die in 18 days. If you don't give a rat food, it dies in 22 to 23 days. Animals will die quicker from a lack of sleep than you will from acting like people are lazy who sleep. And it turns out it's a massive process our brains have to go through to be healthy. We need that process. They took other rats, are you ready? Now, super important for you to understand when you sleep at night. They would let them sleep, but they wouldn't get REM. So if they're asleep, if they're in REM, they would say, okay, the minute the rat starts going into REM, they wake them up. So they just specifically rob them of REM. Guess how long they lived? 18 days. They died at the same time if they didn't give them any sleep. Because REM sleep seems to be extreme for mental brain health. And it's almost all loaded at the back end. The last 6, 7 is where all of it happens. For those of you sleeping 7, 6 hours thinking, well, I know they recommend 8, but you happen to be missing what appears to be the most important hours of your sleep are the last 2 hours. It's like turning the dishwasher off right at the end before the REM cycle happens. And you're like, well, good until you eat and everything tastes like soap, right? Yeah.
So what happens if you wake up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've asked that one too. Here's my guess. The brain probably just goes back to the cycle. Because I think if you've all done that when you wake up dreaming and you go right back to dreaming, so I don't think the brain would go, except where it's at, which makes a lot, or it would restart the whole cycle, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. Okay, so I believe you wake up, you probably go right back into it. Okay, I don't think you get punished for that because your brain just needs to run through the cycle. I had that same question. So I want you to do is when you're setting goals and stuff, brain health is really important because the last thing you want to do is have your structure properly. And then you're wondering, why am I craving sugars and why am I not able to deal with this stuff? This is a big part of this. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah. Where?
Right.
Yeah.
So in REM, right? But what happens like when you wake up? just like.
Yeah, you
had a
don't
dream.
remember
like,
the dream?
It just feels like you were in the non-REM state.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so the dream questions are super interesting. We could have a whole hour talking about dreams, right? And what they mean and everything. And if you dive into it, you'll find out there's a lot of people who have opinions about it, but no one actually knows.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is that the fact that, okay, the natural process is to go, because you showed us,
Yeah,
right?
through the REM, non-REM.
Right, and we go through that cycle. If you dream but you don't remember it, does that mean you're still going through that cycle?
Totally different. You're still going through it.
Okay.
Yeah, when they put people in sleep studies and they hook them up so they can read the eyes, they're almost all going through that cycle.
Okay.
And then when they wake up and go, "What were you dreaming about?" and the person goes, "I don't know. I don't remember." Like I know I dream, but I don't remember dreaming. You guys all know there's certain people who dream and remember them all, right? The people who have dream logs and stuff. I'm not one of those. I'll wake up and be like, I have no memory of dreams, but my eyes will be flipping around. We have a dog, by the way. One of the controversies about this, I'm going a little more than I should, but the question was, do other animals dream? Right? And we go, well, yeah. You know why the researchers all say yeah? Is because they have watched. My dog we were watching the day. His eyes were flicking. He was growling. He was clearly dreaming. I think it's very arrogant for us. Other animals don't do that. I mean, they're so sensitive. I mean, he was attacking some mailman somewhere. He was going after. All right. Okay, mindset goals. A couple things. I already told you Doug's story. Okay, I told you the vegan bodybuilder story, right? About how he chooses when he chooses his diet. Doug was talking about how he exercises wise. He knows himself. Swim lesson. You have to. Here's something I learned when I'm doing swim lessons. If you have never peeled a 5-year-old off of your neck screaming, you have yet to fully experience swim lessons, okay? I had scars on my neck from peeling them off. So I quickly realized having is the kids that were teaching, it wasn't their goal. It was mom's goal, not theirs. It's really hard to accomplish somebody else's goal. It's a good parenting thing, and you're setting the kid goals. Guess what? There's not a lot of them, right? Did learn is if I could make it fun. If the goal was fun, got that? If the goal was fun for the cupcake, and if you're getting a massage, it's a lot more fun. I used to tell the parents after I'd done this for a while, is I would bring them in. It was a 2-week session, and I always tell the parents, listen, the first week we're probably not going to get too much done. Because I'm going to spend the first, little 15-minute lessons, I'm going to spend the first week having fun. So those kids would get in the water, I'd play with them, I'd take them, get them really comfortable. Once they're having fun, boom, they would learn how to swim rapidly. Okay? So again, all I'm showing you is how to play with your brain. Your brain likes to have like a little kid. And their brains were having fun, all of a sudden, boom, I got them going, they loved it, have a good time. Right? Your brain is wired for energy. This is a big one you have to understand. PhD is talking about how he talks to his kids. I think he's a sociologist. He's talking about brains and how they work. And he said brains love negative information. We are wired for negative information. And it has served us phenomenally for thousands of years on this planet. Here's how this works. Cavemen all sit around the fire at night, right? And they're all just telling old stories. And Grog comes up and says, oh, Grog see big alligator by water hole. Okay, that little piece of negative information is super important to you, right? Down and said, oh, Grog see pretty flower. You'll go, oh, that's great. But that doesn't matter too much. But an alligator hanging out at the water pit, that's important to you. If then comes and says, oh, Borg saw alligator too. Everyone's thinking alligators. Your brain grabs onto that information and says, that's super important. No one thinks about snakes. Why? Because alligators are the negative news. He said it served us really, really well, and you had to know that stuff because that's how we survive. Until, you guys ready for this? Until newspapers, radio, and television news showed up. Because the way I market to you guys is with negative news. He says, I tell all of my students, if it's in the news, don't worry about it. It's super rare. That's why it's in the news. Big mass shootings, they're horrible. The odds of any of us getting killed in them are nothing. What should you really be worried about? Attacks, strokes, all that stuff. That's the stuff that's getting, but that stuff's not sexy, and it's not, but they'll sell us. The reason that stuff there is because they know we're attracted to it. And if you don't believe it, go watch movies, read books, look at TV shows. There are no TV shows that says the life of Eric, and Eric just goes to work every day and has a great relationship and plays with his kids and like has a nice car. Like that is not interesting to us. Your brain thrives on negative energy. When you're working with your goals and stuff, keep that in mind. Our minds tend to migrate towards the negative stories on purpose, okay? Pleasure versus happiness. This is a super big one, and then I'll probably jump out of here and let Dr. Osborne. This book is great. If you like to read, if you're a reader, The Hacking, probably one of the best books I've read. He's talking about the difference of pleasure and happiness, okay? Pleasure has a whole different chemical reaction in your brain than happiness. So let's talk about this for a minute. Pleasure has to do with dopamine in our brain. Pleasure and dopamine have everything. Everything you can be addicted to is pleasure. Gambling. You sit down and you play and boom, you win. Man, dopamine hits your brain. Totally pleasurable. Drugs, totally pleasurable, right? Sex, totally pleasurable. All those things, pleasure, dopamine releases in your brain. Our brain's happiness, totally different chemical reaction. It's serotonin in your brain, and happiness is stuff like seeing your kids graduate from high school. Happiness is like seeing one of your kids succeed. Happiness is seeing a family member come over that you have. Happiness is a totally different reaction in the brain. They've known this since the 50s and 60s, and marketing companies figured it out, and they've completely screwed us all up, switched it on us. Hear a commercial? It's a commercial for the blue pill. Erectile Viagra, right? They show a guy out there on the beach, he's running, and it says, Viagra, bringing happiness back to your life. No, pleasure. That's not happiness, right? The Greeks knew this stuff, but they've switched on you guys. They've got you convinced that pleasure is a happiness, and it's totally different. Your brain is seeking out happiness ultimately, but you're giving it up for pleasure. There's a really good quote that says, don't give up tomorrow for what you can have today. Oftentimes, I would be in shape and be thin and be healthy. Sugar, I keep seeking pleasure hits. That's the addiction. You guys see it? It's an addiction. We get addicted to pleasure, happiness. One more time. You get addicted to pleasure, but you're seeking happiness. How frustrating is that? And you can't understand why you can't get to the happiness goal because you're so addicted to the pleasure activity because it's a chemical reaction in your brain, and we're addicted to the pleasure hits. And they play us like dummies. The marketing, yep.
That's how they build the apps on our phones.
Yep, all the apps, exactly. All those addictive apps, it's pleasure. Study on rats. They took rats. They get them addicted to cocaine, liquid cocaine. So these poor rats are drinking cocaine. They love it. They're getting them. And then they introduce them to sugar, okay? And then they give them a choice between the cocaine that they're addicted to or sugar water. Rats choose sugar water. Sugar is crazily addictive to us because our bodies love carbohydrates, and our body needed that thousands and thousands of years ago. Finding those were really important, so your body got a big reward of pleasure, like, oh my gosh, a potato patch. We'd all be like, woo, potatoes. We would celebrate that, right? And it was seasonal. We didn't have them year round, right? Potatoes would come in only rarely, so we got to eat them during a part of life, right? Or apples were only there for a little bit. Now we have unlimited access to it, and our brains, because our brains are so hardwired for that pleasure response, because we're very addictive creatures because of this. So when you're setting your goals, keep that in mind. Is this a pleasure or happiness that I'm seeing here? Okay? Know your brain. If you want to read up, this is a good book. It's a little bit heavy at certain on the physiology, but he does a really good job.
What's the author's name?
The author's name is right there.
Read it.
It's there. I don't know. I don't know. Can't read that. I don't know. I can get it for you later though. Okay.
Could you repeat your
Uh, What was it? Oh, quote, I probably butchered the quote. It's basically, don't give up what you want for tomorrow for what you can have today. In other words, don't give up that goal. Most of the goal, by the way, when you do your guys' goals, you'll notice, now that you understand that difference, almost all your goals are set up for happiness goals, right? I want to graduate, right? We're going to have kids. They're all going to be successful. I want to be in shit. That's all happiness goals. And it's the pleasure things that throw you curveballs and knock you off. Okay, mindset goals. There's really none on this that I put up except for this. I just really want you guys to try to set a goal, a simple goal. Your number one goal is to make a simple goal you accomplish. I need a room of winners. A room of winners. I want you coming in and going, oh my gosh, Dr. Sure, I meet my goal. My goal was to tell you that I made a goal. Then, okay, that's good. I'll take that goal. That's good. At least we're winning. I mean, we're winning, right? But make easy goals and start becoming good at making goals. An Olympic goal setter. Okay, none of you are. If you want to see high level, see it in real time, watch the Olympics. Okay? You watch the Winter Olympics, and if you haven't ever seen a downhill skier do this, you haven't seen anything yet. As an Olympic athlete running through that course that they've skied on for 2 weeks preparing for this one race, and they know every turn, they have drilled that. Okay, so that's it. When you set a goal, action stuff. The action step is that skier knew that run inside and out, and their action step was, I'm going to win the gold medal, and I'm going to do it because my action steps are before I race that race, I'm going to run it 10 times in my head before I actually put on my skis. Watch it. You'll see them. They're up there all doing this, right? Because they're running through that race in their head. They're masters at doing this process, and that process isn't taught to anybody in our schools. It's crazy. Okay, exercise is super important. We're going to make sure we're exercising. I'm going to skip through this a little bit because I think we're getting out of time. Lifestyle, all I can tell you is if you're not exercising, you're missing the boat. If your goal is I want to live a long time and I want to be healthy, hell, any goal is I don't want to live a long time, I just want to be quality life, you should be moving. Because if you don't, I had a patient one time years ago and I said, you really should start exercising. And he said, by the way, this is a really, he said, I give up. And what do you mean you give up? I've tried, right? You guys know this guy. He's give up. And he's verbalizing me. I'm done. I don't care. And he goes, I'm just going to attack and die. And I said, you wish. You wish. That's not how, you don't get off like that. That is not how it happens. Because if it was, most of you could get away with that and be, I'm just going to live like crap, die of a massive heart attack. That is not how it typically happens. And I said, that's not what you're going to get. You're going to get a stroke. And then you're going to lie in a hospital bed for months and months in pain and agony, dying slowly while your family sits by and watch. That's what you might get, because that's what really happens. You don't get off with, I just get the massive heart attack and die alive. Hospital bed, drain all your finances, and make your family. You're fighting for bigger than just, oh, I get to die rapidly. Okay? So lifestyles, you got to be moving, exercise, I do, you guys, and it can be a simple walk. Remember I said walking 20 minutes a day alone is enough to get this accomplished, okay? All right, I'm going to move through that. Dr. Osborne will come in and talk on that. I think I got through all of it. Don't forget this office, one more thing. Sorry. One more thing. Our office does all of our exercise, you guys know, on Monday and Wednesday nights. Now our surge training is here. There's no excuses. We have it here. We have a group of people that meet Monday and Wednesday night. We'll have a staff person run through it.
6:15, not 6:30.
6:15.
Hey, when God, wait, you guys know when God like automatically just talks when she speaks. You heard God. She just told you to be here. Nowhere. You have to be here. All right, good. Here's Dr. Osborne.
All right. So I think one of the reasons why we do this is that, there's two types of exercise. One of the exercises obviously is our cardiovascular exercise. We get on the treadmill. That actually, you have oxygen, and that actually burns sugar. So all you're doing is you're just burning sugar. You see a lot of cardiovascular exercise. They have really hard times losing weight there. What we teach is what we call metabolic conditioning. It's about reconditioning your metabolism to burn fat rather than sugar. and we did a way where it only takes 12 minutes, which is way better than 12 hours or an hour. But it turns on your fat burning mechanism there. And so what I encourage you to do is come out Monday, Wednesday. It's only 12 minutes of workout. I promise you'll feel like you're workout, but it's a fat burning workout. Most people actually have a T3 at home. If you don't have a T3 DVD, we have little cards where you can actually watch it online. If you do have a DVD, you can actually watch it from your smartphone. It'll lead a workout for 12 minutes. There literally is no excuses. You can do it on your street clothes. You can do it on your, I don't know, in your underwear if you want, when nobody's home. Just don't do it in your underwear on the street. The point of it is that it really is all conditioning your metabolism there. Now, I think that this is starting next week. So as far as oxygen and exercise, first of all, number one, join us for a class. Just show up. Also, that could be a small little goal saying, hey, look, I'm just going to show up for surge training there. Number two, get your Max T3. If you got your disc at home, pull it out. Look on the back. There's the code. You can log on. If you don't have one, you can just get like one of the cards that we have. It'll allow you to just look at your smartphone anytime, anywhere, hotel room, at the beach, and actually work out. Or like Dr. Sherry, just take a walk. Like, well, but you got to have moving. And a lot of times people think that exercise is what's going to help them lose weight. Studies show that a weight loss is actually the exercise that you do. The rest of it's the food that you put into your body. So I'm going to go through this thing. It's going to be really important. It's going to give you the best results and the quickest results. First step is this: take care of your nervous system. If you're not taking care of your nervous system, literally your body's not going to function right. Okay, take care of your nervous system. If you've never been checked, if you're, it's only $40. If you're not a patient, you get $5. But at least if you know, then you have a choice to be able to do something about it. Number two, complete your SMART goal plan. Like if you don't have a plan, nothing's going to change. Like you're just going to leave here and your attentions and you're going to get distracted. So work on your SMART goal plan there, master it, and use it as your plan moving on. That, like Dr. Sherry said, the people that plan, they don't fail. They just run up to obstacles, but they keep their eye on the prize, keep moving forward. Number three is 3-hour fast. Like just get that 3-hour fast before bedtime. Turn your body into, give it an opportunity to produce the growth hormone so you can burn fat while you sleep there, where you can regulate your hormones there. Try to stretch it from 3 hours to the next day, which would be, eventually you'll get it to 12 hours there. I find that a lot of times if we try to stretch it out further than that, people that are sugar burners, they're going to have crazy cravings. They're going to have they're going to be cranky and moody and irritable, and nobody's going to be around you. So start off slow there. But the next thing that we really have to look at is clean. You don't want to keep dumping garbage in, and then your body's going to try to store it, and then it's going to try to store it in the fat, and we're going to be stuck in that weight loss resistance. So we want to look at cleaning up our food, using and as far as going in the book, you can always go online. Clean Tina, the Clean 15, the things are always organic. Yes.
So on the fast, is that like every day, or we're talking once a week? Or?
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah, just make it a habit that you just don't eat 3 hours before going to bed. What's that?
The 12-hour one should be like every day too.
Yeah, so I was telling somebody at break that I typically don't eat until maybe, and I don't know if anybody's ever noticed I don't eat. And so it's not that I'm starving, it's just that I've converted myself over to being that I typically 6-8-hour window a day in which I eat. And you just have to look at that as your own thing. If you would like a copy, if you don't have a copy of it, I do one-day transformation because you guys will hear. Send Dr. Sherry an email, and I'll make sure that I get you guys a copy of the book. We'll collect a list on there. Okay. In your house and your body, use the Environmental Working Groups app. So that the things that you're putting onto your body, because those are the things that have a lot of the obesogens in there. And then you start cleaning our personal care products there. And it seems like a lot of prep time, but what we're trying to do is have a plan that actually is going to be successful there. The second, we're going to talk about one challenge. And this is a way that I put together that allowed most people to be successful. And I think this is a very strategy that addresses everything that we talked about. It takes you from being a sugar burner to being a fat burner, and it actually breaks a lot of the habits and the routines and the rituals that we have and the addictions that we have around food there. And it addresses the toxicity issue and your body pure and sufficient there. And then we can start to looking at, as you move forward, how you're going to want to live your life. Are you going to, live on clean keto? By the way, if just because pork rinds, which has fat and pork, I guess, I don't know what's in there, it doesn't mean there's a difference between clean keto and dirty keto. You want to make sure you're having clean meats, clean fats. This is a big thing. It's going to be a learning process. The next thing is increasing your fat. After we've chosen on the type of plan, then and only then do we start to increase fasting window. We don't all of a sudden say tomorrow I'm just going to go 18 hours without eating, and then you're just going to be a complete mess. Okay. Next is T3, making sure that you're getting your T3 in. I try to get it in 5 days a week. Like I said, the only time that works for me is at 5:30 in the morning, up at 4:30. I work out at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's just me. Some people work out at night. Some people work out at daytime. It only takes 12 minutes, so there really is no excuses. And the last but not least is sleep. So how you stayed today started last night. That you made about when you go to sleep. By the way, did you guys know that when you get less sleep, that actually creates hunger for carbohydrates? It literally creates hunger for carbohydrates, and that lasts into the next day. So you'll be actually hungry for carbohydrates all day the next day. And so then what happens, the more deficient in sleep we are, the more hungry we will be for carbohydrates. And we eat those carbohydrates, our insulin levels go up, our stress levels go up because insulin's a stress hormone. And then all of a sudden it's this vicious downward spiral. So go to sleep, let your body repair and regenerate. So on the page, and I'm going to run through this with you guys just so you can get the vision. When you guys, like on the link that you should have received, if you don't, we'll make sure that you get it. But on there is what I call the step one. And it's really the first step that's very easy to take. And it's designed to bring you into that burning place. So in the step one challenge, this is what it looks like. Our first step is looking at detoxification, okay? So we're going to really look at detoxification. And what it'll look like is this. The challenge looks like this morning. There's something that we use called the detox. It's one of the things that we find that it has all the needs to be able to do that first step in the detoxification process. It has a lot of activated charcoal and fiber to be able to get out of your body. So you'll take your daily your cell detox in the morning. You'll take your body detox at night because that'll pull it out there. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to use daily defense because as all these toxins out, there's going to be a lot of antioxidants. There's going to be those things that damage your cells. And so the daily defense actually has a high level of antioxidants that help to stop that inflammation in the day. They're detoxing and they actually start getting inflamed. They start getting, like their joints start to hurt there. They start getting that sluggish mind. So that helps out with that sluggish mind there. So what it looks like in the daytime, and usually this is what we found that works. The first thing we're going to do is that we're going to make a shift. We sometimes have to like literally pull the Band-Aid off. So the first thing that we'll do is we're going to make shakes, but they're not just they're shakes for the purpose. Okay, so we're going to have 3 to 4 shakes a day. Now it doesn't mean that you're just going to eat shakes. And Bryce, you guys come on up here for a second. In those shakes, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you put green vibrance in it. Green vibrance is amazing. It has a digestive enzymes. It has all the vitamins and nutrients. But one of the things we're going to do is we're going to have a competition, girls against boys, right? Who's going to win? Girls. Of course, right? Well, here's what we're going to do. So green vibrance has it's about 5 worth of kale of nutrients in 1 scoop. Now, here's what I'm going to do. You are going to make your shake like you're going to do in the morning, okay? And we're going to have a competition. This is 1 bag. See what happens there. All right, on your marks. Get set. I want you guys to cheer for your team, okay? Guys, girls, ready, set, go. All right. Here we go. 1. Come on, go. Come on. If you have a time issue, there we go. She's almost there. Bryce, take it up. Get it all the way down.
There you go.
All right. Girls win again. But my point is this, is that most of the time we struggle to get the nutrients nutrients into our body there. And at a time, sometimes trying to make lifestyle changes is really difficult. All of a sudden, like, what do I eat? When do I eat? How do I eat? And then we're struggling with the changes in our blood sugar. Bryce is going to keep working on this. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay. So, like I said, it's about 5 bags of kale with the nutrients in 1 scoop there. So what we do is we healthy protein, and you can make your choice whether it's a bone broth protein, you can mix it in there, whether it's a like a whey protein with iron levels in there. But what we're going to do is we're going to mix it in there and a scoop of collagen. So whenever we always want to have a balance of collagen, protein, and regular protein. Because collagen, as we age, it goes down to 5% in our body. It's the thing that makes up our hair, our skin, our nails. It makes up our blood vessels there. It makes up our bones. Without collagen, we can't keep the nutrients. More of our bone is made up of pus there. As our body's age, that breaks down the quickest. And so what we start to find is that we have collagen to be able to build and to repair our intestinal lining and our gut lining. Most people, one of the biggest things that they can do is actually take collagen. And so what we want to do is have a plan that encompasses everything. This isn't just a weight loss program. This is a reset, get healthy, fix the deficiency, remove the toxicity plan there. So where did I go? Under for tomorrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 3. People don't need to have 3 shakes. 4 shakes. Some people have 3. And it's not about just the shakes and taking supplements. I don't care about that. I just want to make sure your body's sufficient and pure during this time. Now, the other thing that we're going to do is we'll also have fat burning mode. So you can have something called MCT oil. It's a high concentration of an energy. Actually it gets absorbed, it bypasses the liver, and it gets readily absorbed in the intestine, so you'll get immediate energy. Sometimes people feel like they're, I'll use it many times if I'm going to go exercise, I'll have a teaspoon. I warn you though, do not have more than a teaspoon. Most of you might not remember this, but first time I had MCT oil, a teaspoon is good, maybe a Dixie cup is better. Oh. So I drank a whole Dixie cup. I made it from my huddle to the first patient, and then I had to run to the bathroom. And I was sweating profusely. I was completely wet because it ramped up my metabolism so high, but my body didn't, because when we're many times and we're toxic, our body will actually get rid of that because the fats that we have are fat soluble. Toxins we have are fat soluble fats, and so it's dumping toxins there. So to have a scoop of coconut oil while you're doing it, or a teaspoon of MCT oil, that'll give you that nice energy boost there. Now this is the best part, because is anybody thinking, I'm just going to be hungry on shakes? Right. So you get to have free range. You get to eat as much vegetables as you want. Okay? As much. Like literally, if you want to have a dump truck, and you can eat a whole dump truck of greens, you can eat all of those as much as you want. And by the way, you're going to find that it's cheaper than going out to dinner. Okay? And what happens is, but the caveat is it has to be raw. And so what the reason is that it's all the fiber, all the nutrients, and then we lose about 50% of the nutrients many times when we cook our vegetables. So we're trying to get you, by getting healthy, then and only then do we lose weight. Otherwise, I might as well give you a pill that'll speed up your metabolism and you'll lose weight, or we'll play tricks. We're not playing tricks. We're playing a plan there. So the next thing is that we're going to drink, ready, a minimum of half your weight in body ounces of water. This is a big key right here. Most people are deficient in the thing that makes up 70% of their body and 70% of their planet. Guess what? Water isn't fruit juice. Water, you can have a little coffee or tea in there, but we have 50% of our body weight in water. And if we can do that, we'll avoid things like constipation. We'll avoid things like feeling sick, and it'll actually help to flush toxins out of there. And then what you want to do is be a student. Go back and read your Align Your Health book and start from chapter 1 and read all the way through and there. Now, so we do that for a week. For most people, it's a great jump start, because what it does is it breaks all the cycles, routines, and our patterns that aren't supporting us, and it gives us new ones there. But the second week is, what do we do? Well, for most people, we have them start to work on a ketogenic meal plan. They'll have a dinner that has lots of vegetables, some good healthy fats, a small amount of protein. We'll add salads and things along those lines. We'll get some recipes on there for the week 2 meal plan for you guys. But basically, the advanced plan in the keto plan is that it's just like the keto has a higher fat content there. Week 3. Some people actually like to stay on when they're getting great results. We have, like, this is the plan, by the way, that pulled her out of the hospital if you had the last makeover. She was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and they gave her a 1.5 years to live. She just was here on Tuesday. If you guys saw Justin, she said, yep, clean bill of health. They said I have no heart problems, no signs of congestive heart failure. The power that made the body heals the body as long as there's no interference, right? And as long as you give your body what it needs to regenerate. So she was on that for a month, actually. She was on just that plan for a month there. Off all of her medications, her blood pressure became normal, and actually her blood pressure was too low. It went up. All of her triglycerides, all of her cholesterol, everything normalized there. And the breathing issues that she had, the fatigue that she had, the swollen ankles disappeared. So that's a big thing. So week 2, you can choose to start adding an advanced plan meal, or you can keep on going that way, getting the results that you want, because you're gonna have to listen to yourself. Week 3, you add an advanced, like a keto lunch. You start adding more things in there because we're learning the process. Or we add a breakfast in there, unless you're doing intermittent fasting. Intermittent fast, that's a great to start expanding your window at that time, where you can maybe skip out on breakfast and start moving into there. Now, there's a couple things that I always talk about, and I'm not a big person on supplements, but there are things that can help in that process. There's one that's called Max Fit. It has a lot of things like ashwagandha, which is an adaptogenic herb, which actually helps your body deal with stress and lower your cortisol levels, which is your fat deposit, one of your fat hormones. It has green tea, which is like an antioxidant. It has glutamine, which repairs inflammation in there, and carnitine, which actually your mitochondria, which are the powerhouse that need that carnitine to be able to convert fat over into energy. And when I do test, there's a lot of times when people have weight loss resistance or weight issues, they're actually carnitine deficient. The other thing in there is running into these days is because of the amount of damage from the lifestyle that they've been living are damaged. And that's why I suggest during this initial time to be able to get people's guts healing. We're removing the stresses on there. They use Max GI. What Max GI does is it has a lot of potassium in there. Typically, potassium is a balance with sodium. It helps to balance out that swelling there. But your body uses it for energy. It also has things that are designed to heal the gut. That has lysosomes in there, which break down the cell walls, specifically bacteria that are in your intestines that destroys the cell walls. It has essential oils in there, which is an anti-inflammatory, an anti-immune. Not an anti-immune. It has clove oil in there, which really revs up our metabolism. There's thyme oil, which reduces inflammation. So that's a big one. Hey, Bryce, come here. This is another challenge. Yeah. So there is something that it's not for everybody, but in their life. Yeah. Okay, who loves broccoli? We all love broccoli, and we all know that broccoli is good. So this right here, I did the math on it. There's one thing during this time. Some weight loss challenges. There's something called a sulforaphane, and that's the active ingredient in broccoli. Go for it. You got to go. It's actually 5 pounds of broccoli that you're going to need to have. So you're going to have to bring the rest of the Max 18 there. But they've actually found that I stutter over it, sulforaphanes. They actually have been, when they compare people that are on metformin for diabetes, it helps regulate the blood sugars better than metformin does. And guess what? It has no side effects. It also looks at it lowers our levels. It also helps with the fatty liver there, and there's a ton of other factors here. Pass it around. We're going to actually have healthy things. My point in saying this is that you don't have to do everything, but the plan looks like that. We got to get you in a place to be able to do that. Process is not an event. You're not going to all of a sudden, boom, I'm completely different. We got to work on our mindset, and we got to have a plan that's going to work through that process. And that's what we're going to be, that's what I suggest that we, look, you guys have more than enough things to do. The one thing that I want you to know is that who's responsible for your health? We are, right? That's number one rule for being a patient in my office, in Dr. Schiller's office here, is that you're responsible for your health, you're responsible for what goes in your mouth, you're responsible for the decisions, and you're actually responsible for being here, you're responsible for learning, responsible for the outcomes. Now, I always watch the, like those car races, right? You know, like the Formula cars. Pretty much all the cars are pretty much the same. There's not a lot that you can tweak on a Formula car. But when somebody's losing, what they don't do is they don't go get a new car, they change out the pit crew, right? They change out the pit crew because they know that that's the problem with the pit support that car. So when you're looking at your health, you got to look at who your pit crew is. The people that are there supporting you in this process of being the very best you. And I want you to also look around. The people that are in here actually have the right crew. But there's the people that aren't in here, the people that aren't learning these things. Those are the people that are sick and suffering out there, and the people that are actually that they've lost the vision of what's possible for their life. I will tell you this: is the reason why I'm up here is I have a kingdom mindset. I know that every single one of us has a race to win, and when we're sick, we're going to crawl across that. I know that when we're healthy, we can run across the best for everything, not just for ourselves, but for the rest of the world. And that's what I want for each of you guys. Hard. It's supposed to be hard, but the obstacle is the way. It's easy, the things that we've been doing, but it's hard to make changes, but we have to get comfortable with those changes and be okay with that. We don't beat ourselves up, we just build ourselves up. And we just make small changes on a regular basis. So first step that I'm going to suggest, I'm going to be around here afterwards. If you have questions on step one, please do that. Number two, if you're not a patient and you've never had your nervous system checked and you want a different pit crew, I'm going to suggest that to one of my team members. Every one of them was patients at one time, and they asked to work here because they saw the miracles that occur here. Three, to be able to support you guys, whatever resource we have in this office, they're 15% off tonight. And so I would suggest that you, whatever resources that you use on a regular basis, first step would be obviously your daily essentials. But also, if you're going to do the challenge, I would suggest that you get your resources to save yourself time and money. And I just want to here, I know it's hard, and it's a miracle that we're actually finishing on time. Dr. Sherry actually bet me that we weren't going to finish on time, and it's exactly right on time. I'm going to talk a little bit further, just to, no, I'm not. I'm actually going to applause out there. And I just want you guys to just remember that this is you're on a mission for yourself, but for your family to be the very best you. Our mission here is to transform your life and to have you live a better being here. And if you have questions, always ask. Have a great day. They're back there, Katie and Cheryl are back there to help you. And then I'll stay up here with any questions. And then if you're a guest, you can talk with them. Yes, with Melissa, and she'll help you to get your life-changing exam. Thank you.
Garbage around here. Go ahead.
Up front there should be something.
Actually, write it Yes.
Some goals are unattainable.
I'd like to try something. I ain't gonna happen. Not at this age, bro. Not at this